Hello, my beautiful blossoms, blooms, and buds, and welcome to my book garden. I'm Rosebud Reads, and I'm excited to have you here. Just one second, I need to clean my glasses. But anyway, I'm excited that we are here at our third live stream. And of course, also just doing this story. It's one of my absolute favorites. Give a minute to see if anyone's going to be here. Hello, Mars Rover. How are you doing today? Good, I hope. Anything exciting happen over the weekend? Anything fun? Anything new? Anything you want to share? Sorry, I'm just cleaning my glasses. Pretty good. Got the day off work. That's always nice. Hello, Chi-Chi Kiki. Welcome. How you doing? Anything new or exciting this weekend? Sorry, I'm just cleaning my glasses. They're really dirty. I think that's as good as it's gonna get. Oh, you just got back from a con? That's so much fun. Which convention? Or you don't have to share if you don't want to, but did you get anything super cool or that you'd like to share? Here, I've got these for a little bit later. Yeah, that's exciting that you just got back from a con. Those are always fun. Did you cosplay? I got so much stuff. That's awesome. Yes. I know you have that little mushroom cosplay. Did you do that? Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Yes, on Sunday for a Don May meetup. Oh, you had a Don May meetup too. That's even better. Those are so much fun. I myself had a Magic pre-release this weekend, and it was interesting. It was a lot more fun than I think I was like catastrophizing for, because it's been like 2 years since I've really played Magic the Gathering. So I was like, I am so rusty, and the new one involves space. So I was like, you were the only one not in an MXTX cosplay. That was kind of how it was at the last Don May meetup that I went to. We had one little mushroom, two actually. One of them was very shy, so they didn't come into the pictures. And then, I mean, we had Araha people. But yeah, grand majority was MXTX. I think we had one that was Word of Honor pairing. So they were a pairing. Hi, Annika. How are you doing today? You also did MXTX this weekend? Nice. Yeah, sometimes there's Meat Bun. Yeah. I really want to do one from this book series. But right now it's kind of like one of those in the works, not really sure how I could make the base of it. But it's kind of funny, it's kind of ridiculous. Part of me kind of wanted to try to make it for an upcoming con that's in like 2 or 3 weeks. But I might be able to do it. I'd have to figure out dimensions on things, and I'm not the best at doing that, but who knows? Maybe I might take a crack at it. And I'm glad you're doing okay. I'm actually doing much better than I have been. I got sick with something, and it took me down for a couple days, and so I'm finally feeling human again and can keep food down. So that's a relief. That made today better. I finally was able to do some of the things around the house that I needed to. So that was important. Yes, me too, Annika. Me too. No, hopefully I'll be good for the next few weeks because I have some stuff coming up that I'm excited for, like the convention I was talking about. I inevitably get sick after them, but I'm really trying hard this time, especially since it's what I'm traveling for, to be better. But we'll see. I'll probably just do my Foxy and Waywoxian because it's one of my absolute favorites. He's so much fun to do. Today was a house chore day for you too. Am I going to Anime Magic? I haven't heard of that one actually. Is that around here? I'll put that. I'll open up a tab for that, and I will look that up after this. Didn't it already happen? Or no, August. Depending on the price of tickets, maybe. Let me see. Real quick. There's the button. Okay, so that's like general pricing. Maybe one of the days. It looks kind of fun. Oh. And I do like the ones in Rosemont. It's always sad when you get a cold and have a bunch of chores you've been putting off. I might try to go to that one. That one looks really cool. I hope it's a fun conflict that weekend. One that you look forward to instead of something you're dreading. Yeah. Maybe if I might try and see if one of my friends can go to that one, but they also just moved. Vending at a local corn fest. That sounds like a lot of fun though too. That sounds really cool. I love local festivals, but there's not a ton of them around me. Yeah, it's very Illinois. That's very Illinois. Corn. But anyway, I did not do my disclaimer yet. I do not own anything related to the disabled tyrant and his beloved pet fish. I am not Seven Seas Publications or Entertainment, whatever it is. I'm not Seven Seas. I'm not the author. I'm not the illustrator. The only thing I own is the physical copy in front of me and my time. So please don't come after me. I have no money. I'm just doing it because I enjoy these books and I want to share them with people. They're wonderful. And yeah, I enjoy sharing them with people and getting to chat with people who also like them or are reading them together for the first time. Oh, you're really hoping we get to your favorite chapter tonight? And yes, corn festivals are a thing and they are very cool. But yeah, before that, while I was at my local gaming store, I found these, which I don't think they're official Pokemon merch, but like they're here, let me try and get my face out of the way, see if it focuses. Like they're cards. I opened up some before. I of course can't find them now. I think they're probably in one of my deck boxes. Mu Tianshu's perspective, I was forced to throw a party and someone gate crashed and stole my under. Magic Pikachu. Oh, in that case, we can open this one first. So they're like cardboard cards. But like they were so much fun. They were $2 each. So I was like, for $2, why not? But here's our first one. Bring it closer so you can hopefully see. That's super cute. Oh, it's upside down. There you go. Kind of. They're on their back, so they're just kind of like chilling. Oh, that's kind of cool. It's a Gardevoir. Gardevoir fashion magazine. That's cool. I guess that one's a premium rare for the Gardevoir. And then in this one, I think there's 3 on this one. And yes, Gardevoir do be slaying. Rocking that coat. Yeah, there's 3 in this. Oh! Bulbasaur! Yes. Just in time to see it. Breloom. And just for you Peacock pages, these were the 2 in the other pack. We had a Gardevoir, and I think this one, oh my gosh. I can't remember this one's name off the top of my head. But they're cute. I think they crashed because it's got like the ... down here in the corner. Oops. Right here. It's got like ... Like, what am I doing? No, those are super cute. Just something fun since I was there, and like I did not play great. Well, I did not play bad either. The deck I was playing with did not have a lot of creatures. And just had a lot of removal, and it was what I call a big smashy, where you just basically hope you get big dudes and you just buff them up and you remove what other people do. And if it worked right, where I was able to get actual creatures out, then I could make them big and strong. And if I didn't, I died very quickly. or at least could like say no, but there's no way I could win. So it was a fun time. At least I played against some pretty chill people, and it was just a nice time. Nobody was like aggressive or rude, so that's really nice because I've had some Magic tournaments where people get feisty, and not in the oh that's funny way, but in the okay, that was rude. So it was nice that people were there just to have fun. It seemed like a really cool group of people. My friend was the one who wanted to, who asked if I wanted to go, and it's a new shop because they moved. So it was a good time. But yes, it is definitely fun when people are chill. Are you having the stream cut in and out? I can try reloading the page. All right, let me try reloading the page, and if that doesn't work, I can go reset the modem. Hey. All right, I ran upstairs and reset the modem. No, there's been issues before, but I thought the system I had before works. But sometimes it likes to be tricky. So I really appreciate it when people let me know so I can reset it. If it's not better now, it should hopefully be better in a minute. That should not have winded me as much as it did. Out of shape. All right. Is that better, Truffle? Or whoever's here? Is that better? Much. Okay. Yeah. My internet's not fantastic, so. Okay. Okay, good. No, seriously, don't worry about like letting me know if the internet's not being great. I will happily reset it. Yeah. But anyway, regarding last session, we had an intruder come and try to assassinate Prince Jing. And he swiftly took care of it and kind of scared our fish boy Liu, which was a little sad because he kind of was flinching away from Prince Jing. Yep, the fish was traumatized until he realized, like, hey, this is a side of Prince Jing. It's always been here, but he's always been good to me. So I, like, need to kind of realize that, like, he hasn't changed as a person. This has always been him. And kind of like how even after like everything happened and he kind of gave him the cold shoulder because like he was terrified, Prince Jing still went and cleaned up, changed robes, like, and was doing everything and still being super sweet to him. And he had that realization that Prince Jing really was very good to his fish. Liu shouldn't fear and just trust him over a little shock. Perhaps he should make up with Prince Jing tomorrow. Having suffered such a huge shock, having thought until his brain was smoking, the little carp picked a spot closest to Prince Jing in his tea bowl, yawned, and quickly slipped into dreamland. Quests, those could wait until after he woke up. When he woke up the next morning, Prince Jing noticed the little carp huddled up next to him. The tea bowl was flipped over on its side and had left a huge wet patch on his clothes. Prince Jing moved his hand closer and the fish, half asleep, scooted over to nuzzle into it. Fireworks exploded in Prince Jing's heart. He didn't know why this fish's attitude towards him had gone from high to low and then back to high. All he knew was that putting the fish closer to him was quite effective. That's right, he did put the fish bowl next to him and pushed the pillow over. The Emperor was beside himself with fury when he learned that an assassin had managed to infiltrate Jingtai Hall. After confirming that the prince was fine, every strand of hair on his head intact, he commanded the palace guards to conduct a thorough investigation. They had to give Prince Jing an explanation one way or another. The Emperor felt guilty that Prince Jing had almost gotten killed. Prince Jing originally lived outside the palace, and the only reason he had come to live at the palace for a while was because the Emperor summoned him for the noble consort's birthday. But this had only led to more suffering for Prince Jing. Alongside his awards, the Emperor also ordered the prince to return to his manor to rest. At long last, Prince Jing could finally leave the palace. After receiving the royal edict, the prince made no delay. He immediately ordered Wang Shi to pack everything up. In theory, both Prince Jing Manor and Jingtai Hall were Prince Jing's dwellings, so both places had servants. Prince Jing had come and gone from the palace many times now, so there wasn't much for him to pack. This time, however, there was the addition of a ridiculously pretentious fish tank. That's right, he got the giant crystal fish tank, originally with koi, that the prince was like, no koi, but I keep the tank. Half the palace had come to watch the commotion. People had heard the ill-tempered Prince Jing had gotten a new pet fish, and it seemed as though the fish had an even higher status than the noble consort's cat. This fish had even been approved of by the Emperor, who had gifted the tank himself. This must be a precious breed of fish indeed. The crowd saw 8 people carrying a crystal fish tank, the bottom laden with jewels. At the top, a small grayish carp was bubbling. The crowd of servants was stunned. Okay, so that's where we left off last time. It is about 21. So I will remember that that's where we start today. It's 21 minutes. Because I finally figured out how to do timestamps. 21. Yeah, the dream bubbles. 21. Okay. Chapter 17. The Fish Wants to Rebel. When he woke up, Liu was already at Prince Jing Manor, completely oblivious to the fact that a bunch of people at the palace had already judged him from head to tail. But even if he did know, he wouldn't care. By now, he was well aware of his identity as a fish. In short, he just had to blow his own bubbles and let those boring people talk all they wanted. It didn't really matter to him if his tank was in the palace or at the manor. He lived in a fish tank either way. What put him in high spirits was Wang Gong placing him in Prince Jing's bedroom, so he was still living with the prince. His fear of Prince Jing had left just as quickly as it came. He felt more trusting and sincere towards Prince Jing now, and was much more shameless than ever about acting cute. Ever since he transmigrated into this book, he had been preoccupied with 2 things: diligently performing his duties as a pet fish and worrying about his quests. The original storyline of the book was a long way removed from his fishy life. He slept well and ate well next to Prince Jing without ever needing to worry about the plot. After all, he was a fish. What could he do? I mean, he's got a point. But Prince Jing's attempted assassination had brought the plotline back into focus for him. Once, the second prince, Mu Tianshao, learned that Prince Jing had left the palace, he would send a trusted servant over with a letter. The servant very earnestly asked after Prince Jing's health, then relayed that in 3 days' time the second prince would host a banquet in Prince Jing's honor, asking him to please attend. Wang Shi brought the letter to Prince Jing with a disdainful expression. Prince Jing gave a cold laugh and tossed the letter aside without opening it. From inside his tank, Liu stared at the letter, deep in thought. The second prince might be destined to live the life of cannon fodder, but he was still the emperor's current pick for crown prince. He was probably doing this to save some face after being humiliated at Qiansheng Palace. Qiansheng Palace. Those Q's always trip me up, but I think I got it right. No one on Prince Jing's side really respected the second prince. Despite being the oldest of the emperor's sons, Mu Tianshao often hid his true motivations behind a false smile and grand gestures. In front of the emperor, he pretended to care for his younger brothers, and around the younger princes, he pretended to be a good older brother. In reality, this older brother had sabotaged many of his younger brothers. As someone with the cheat code to the book, Liu had a pretty good idea of what the second prince was thinking. Amongst the other princes, Mu Tianshao feared the third prince the most because he was the closest to him in age and fought with him on everything. But the one Mu Tianshao hated the most was Prince Jing. Although Mu Tianshao was the eldest, the line of succession didn't follow the order of birth. The Dai son always came first. As Prince Jing's mother was Empress Xiao Huai, his status was much higher. If Prince Jing had been able to speak, there was no way the emperor would have given the throne to the second prince already. Because of that, Prince Jing had always been a thorn poking at Mu Tianshao's side. But he couldn't let that show in front of the emperor. The emperor had high hopes for the future crown prince's morals and conduct, and the second prince knew that. No matter how much he disliked Prince Jing, he had to treat him kindly. Ever since Lady Chu's fish fiasco, the Emperor had been rather displeased about him, and Mu Tianshao had realized that nothing was guaranteed until the position of Crown Prince was officially his. He couldn't celebrate his victory yet. Fortunately, Prince Jing's near assassination gave him an excuse to feign concern for his brother's well-being in order to make up for last time. To the Emperor, it would look like he had learned from his mistake and was making amends. Sneaky, sneaky. The second prince had thought all of this through meticulously, except that Prince Jing didn't care at all and made it clear he wasn't going to attend. He was like, no, I'm not playing the game. But the second prince refused to give up. He ran to the palace and begged the Emperor for his help in convincing Prince Jing. Deep down, the Emperor wanted Prince Jing to get along with the future crown prince, and since the second prince was willing to extend the olive branch, the Emperor gave him his full support. To encourage Prince Jing to cooperate, and also to make things easier on the second prince, the Emperor decided to act as the middleman, ordering the banquet to be held at Prince Jing's manor instead. That would not make me more receptive if my sibling was like, I originally was going to host the party for you, but now Dad's making it be at your house, so you have to go. Like, that would not make me happy. I'd be like, I am less excited about it now because you are forcing me to throw a party I did not want. Like, I get why he did it, but like, also, like, you know your sons, Mr. Emperor. Like, oh. He also ordered all the princes to attend and appointed Prince Jing as the host. This way, the second prince and Prince Jing could easily reconcile at the banquet. I would be livid. Think of the cleanup. Right? Like, I just got back to my house. Like, I was almost killed. Well, not almost. Like, he's too badass to almost be killed. But, like, I'd had an assassination attempt on my life. Now I have to host a party I didn't even want to go to when it wasn't at my house. Gee, thanks, Dad. Thanks to the Emperor's assistance, the second prince had achieved his goals. When Prince Jing received the edict, his expression darkened. Right there with you, buddy. The Emperor knew that Prince Jing was naturally cold and withdrawn. Never mind entertaining the other princes, just having a few more guests than usual at his manor would sour his mood. Antisocial king, we get it. The Emperor especially sent head eunuch Luo to explain that servants and chefs would be sent over at the time of the banquet, taking away all burden of preparation off Prince Jing's shoulders. All he had to do was show up as host. I mean, that helps, but still. The Emperor had gone to all this trouble just so his sons could form a bit of a brotherly bond. Prince Jing sat by himself in his room for a while, staring at all the arrangements. He no longer had any objections. Yep, he has servants, but still. As soon as Wang Shi caught wind of anything happening in Prince Jing's manor, Liu pretty much knew as well. And he doesn't even like most of his brothers. I mean, like, I can't blame him about that. Like, one of them just tried to scheme against him, and he thinks, like, he tried to kill his fish. Like, or was his mom tried to kill his fish, which is, like, he's so protective, and it's his precious fish. Like, they tried to get him in trouble, like, a week ago or something. Like, it's like, great. And the younger ones, like, he hasn't really interacted with much. And that's my phone. Oh, geez. 1 second. Let me turn off the ringer. Sorry about that. Okay. Yep, I don't blame him either. Also, some of them tried to kill him. Yep. As soon as Wang Shi caught wind of anything happening in Prince Jing's manor, Liu pretty much knew as well. Prince Jing had rejected the second prince, and now that the emperor wanted Prince Jing to host a banquet, out of the blue, even if he was thinking with his fishtail instead of his head, it was obvious that the second prince must have hit a roadblock and gone through the emperor to make this happen. Liu was speechless. But a banquet was a banquet. It had nothing to do with a fish like him. In any event, the second prince wasn't going to get what he wanted. They were all just passengers on Prince Jing's journey. But that reminded Liu. There had been a banquet Prince Jing had held at the beginning of the book. That was where he'd run into the other male lead of the book. This book, the Tyrant and his delicate concubine. In other words, the delicate concubine. To directly quote the nauseating words the book had used, their fates were then forever entangled. Liu had been a transmigrated fish for a while, but the quests the system gave him had all been weird ones. It had never tried to involve him in the plot of the book. With such a limited area of movement and only being able to interact with a limited amount of people or things, even if he wanted to do something, it wouldn't be easy. It was just like the fish scamming system had said. The purpose of his existence was to change the tyrant's personality. If he was able to do that, it didn't really matter how the plot progressed. That's what you say now. Liu truly didn't care about the plot, but the second prince's actions made him wonder, was this banquet the same as the one in the book? With Prince Jing's temper, there was no way he'd willingly host a banquet like this. The book never mentioned the reason behind Prince Jing's banquet, which meant there was no inconsistencies between the current reality and the book. Everything matched up. All of Liu's scales were standing on end. Was Prince Jing about to meet the love of his life? The delicate little concubine? That had to be it. After all, in the world of the book, one main character was the top and the other was the bottom. They were fated to meet. No matter how convoluted the process was, they were always meant to be together. Hadn't he always known this book was a story about Prince Jing and his little concubine? You might not care about the plot, but the plot cares about him. That it does. He was just a pet fish. Why hurt his fish brain by thinking so much? Liu shook his head, doing his best not to care about it, and went to play with the jewels in his tank instead. But he just wasn't interested in them. Maybe he had played with them too much. The emperor's edict went out. The younger ones, the 7th and 8th princes, were only children, and they still lived in the palace. When they heard that Prince Jing was holding a banquet, they were eager to come out and play. See, like them I have no beef with. Like, they just are there. Yeah, I agree. The other 2 older princes were much more mature. The 3rd and 6th princes both politely responded that it was a rare opportunity for all the brothers to gather in one place, and that they would prepare elaborate gifts. The 3rd prince, Mu Tianming, even suggested bringing some servants who were adept at singing and dancing to liven things up. Yeah, they just chillin'. They're there. They're chillin'. They're actually good kids. Pleased to see his sons getting along, the emperor accepted all of these suggestions on Prince Jing's behalf. Oh, I'm so sorry. My nose is, for some reason, super itchy right now. Although Prince Jing didn't need to worry about planning the banquet, Wang Shi still kept an eye on things for his master. Liu listened as Wang Shi Gong Gong rambled on and on. After a while, he sank to the bottom of the tank, unwilling to resurface. The 3rd prince's suggestion basically confirmed the plot, because one of the servants who were adept at singing and dancing was the delicate little concubine in the original book. His appearance stood out amongst the crowd, and the moment Prince Jing laid eyes on him during a performance, it was love at first sight. Unfortunately, the little concubine was the 3rd prince's servant, and for about half the book, he didn't even like Prince Jing. But this was the first and only time Prince Jing had fallen in love. The high and mighty Tyrant suffered setbacks at every turn and nearly lost his life, but he couldn't even have the one thing he yearned for. That's sad. How cliched was the typical "I love you, but you don't love me, and yet I still love you." A lot of readers were into this kind of thing, though. Apparently, it was relatable for them. I mean, that's fair. How could they do that? How could they torment Prince Jing? When the Yu read the book, it didn't bother him in the least. Back then, Prince Jing had just been a character in a book, but now Prince Jing was a real person to him. The original book sounds rather depressing. I mean, yeah, like, a lot. Think about a lot of Danmei, like, where it's, like, the misunderstandings galore. This one is sad because, like, it actually is, I don't actually like you, not, oh, I don't think you like me, but you actually care about me. It sounds like the concubine actually didn't like him, maybe actively hated him. Right? It kind of tracks. I'm thinking about my boy, Wei Wuxian back there. Lan Wangji hated me for all this, and it's like, no, you're oblivious and he's bad at communication. But he got better. Like, to be fair, there's a fair number of track records about misunderstandings. But yeah, it sounds like this one's a little more straightforward in the feelings department. Prince Jing had just been a character in a book, but now Prince Jing was a real person. Liu was pretty close to him and had seen many sides of the prince that nobody else had. He considered Prince Jing to be his master. Liu was furious, angrier than if he himself had been the one going through the torment. Most of them just need couples counseling. Amen to that. Oh my god, so many. The dejected little carp took his anger out on the jewels in the tank for a while until the sullen thought came to him. So what if he was mad? The person who liked the little concubine was Prince Jing, and Liu was just a pet fish. Perhaps one day the little concubine would also become his second owner, and he would have to earn favor with him the same way he had earned favor with Prince Jing. Eventually, he would have to live together with this second owner, or counseling period. True that. Yeah, agreed. Even just the thought of it was unbearable. He suddenly understood the lost feeling other pets had when their owners abruptly got into a relationship. A formerly doting pet owner could end up eventually losing interest in their pet. If the second owner got along with the pet, it would be fine, but if they didn't, would the original owner do anything to the second owner? No. If it came down to it, the owner would definitely get rid of the pet. Liu laughed bitterly. He would never allow himself to land in such a situation. If Prince Jing wanted to go through the motions of the plot, he could go right ahead. It wasn't like Liu could stop it from moving forward. He was just a fish, but he had to at least do whatever he could, right? Since Prince Jing was holding a banquet, numerous visitors would be coming and going. Prince Jing would be too busy meeting the little concubine to worry about Liu. That meant he could turn into a human without any reservations and do what he wanted. He just didn't want to meet the second owner. I love how he's talking himself into jealousy. Like, oh yeah, no, he's super jealous right now. Like, this is my Prince Jing, and this plot is bullshit. Like, I don't want a second owner. I have one, and I like him, and he's just fine with me. And I maybe can't do anything about it, but so what? Bold of him to assume Prince Jing won't want to take his fish to the banquet, right? Chapter 18, The Fish Wants to Transform. Liu decided that he would use the transformation medicine on the day of the banquet. When he had completed the Share a Bed quest not too long ago, he had received a bizarre reward. A lifelike, life-sized fish plushie that was nearly a perfect replica of his own fish body. plot isn't coming for Liu, he is coming for the plot. That's right. All the prizes before had been inventory space or enhancements to his abilities, so he had been really looking forward to it. Except it turned out he had busted his ass just to get an apparently useless object. Liu immediately thought the system was scamming him once again and didn't collect the reward. Now that he was planning on turning human, though, the toy didn't seem so worthless after all. Yeah. Gee, I forgot about the fish plushie. Hilarious. Yeah. No. It is pretty funny. The plushie! If he turned human and the fish tank was empty, it would only be a matter of time before a passing servant noticed. He'd be found out immediately. A fish decoy is great. The fish plush was MVP. It really is. It was almost as if this fish plushie was there to help him sneak out. It lay completely motionless in the water, but from a distance, it really did look like him. The next step, after sharing a bed with the Tyrant, was gain a deep understanding of the Tyrant. Liu was used to weird quests by now, and these clickbait titles no longer fazed him. As usual, when he asked for clarification, the fish scamming system pretended it was dead. More fish-spionage. That's right, Mars Rover, more fish-spionage. He took a deep breath. When the system had asked him again, this time he chose accept. In the blink of an eye, the transformation medicine bottle fell into his fins. At first, he had been worried that he might not be able to open the bottle as a fish, but the bottle seemed to be able to read his thoughts. As soon as he wanted to use it, the seal just disappeared. Fish shenanigans. I like that one too, Truffle. Could it be another trap? Now that the transformation medicine was in his grasp, Liu faltered. He could hear music playing faintly in the distance, and he knew the dancing and singing that had been specially prepared for this banquet was starting. The little concubine was about to show up if he hadn't already. Oh, Guang Huai. Why? Hi, just dropping in to say hi because I'm tired, but I just saw you were alive. Well, I'm so glad you did. We are the part where Liu is about to transform into human for the first time. Is debating on whether or not he wants to go through with it. The fateful meeting was about to take place, right? Well, fateful meeting or not, he only had 2 hours. He was just going to be eating next door. No big deal. Liu stopped hesitating. Feeling a little complicated about it, he downed the medicine in one gulp. I'm really happy you stopped by to say hi, by the way. Even if you don't stay or watch later, it's nice when people pop in and say hello. Liu stopped hesitating. Feeling a little complicated about it, he downed the medicine in one gulp. The medicine didn't taste like anything. After drinking it, he smacked his lips a few times. In the next second, his vision blurred. Fuck, he didn't know the medicine would have side effects. The little carp gradually lost consciousness. Ninghui Hall. The third prince, Mu Tianming, rose many times to toast Prince Jing. Mu Tianshao beat him in almost every aspect. Mu Tianming, unlike Mu Tianshao, had a mother who was of lower status than Lady Chu, and he was also a few years younger. Ever since he made the decision to compete with the second prince, Mu Tianming had been opposing Mu Tianshao in everything. Since Prince Jing was born with a disability and had no hope of ever ascending to the throne, he posed no threat to Mu Tianming. Oh. Hi, Night Owl Workshop. My algorithm tossed me in here unprompted. Didn't know you were reading. Hope you're having very much. Liu is about to transform for the first time into a human. And we just flashed back over to Prince Jing and the other princes where they're hosting a banquet in Prince Jing's manor against his will. And this is where we're supposed to meet the other main character, the gentle consort. If Mu Tianxiao didn't like Prince Jing, then Mu Tianming obviously had to be on Prince Jing's side. Mu Tianxiao wanted to suck up to Prince Jing, then he would have to get in the way. Very fun. As long as the second prince was unhappy, the third prince was very happy. Although Prince Jing wasn't particularly useful and the emperor had never guaranteed him any real power, he nonetheless had Empress Xiao Huai's family, the house of Chang'an, behind him. That was a huge advantage. Yep, sixth and third prince. Oh, those two guys. Over the years, Mu Tianming had given Prince Jing plenty of gifts, but they had all been rejected. Been trying to come up with a reason to approach Prince Jing when Mu Tianxiao's mother, noble consort Xu, did something stupid. The third prince immediately jumped at the chance. But Prince Jing was not the kind of person who could be swayed by gifts. He was very difficult to kiss up to. None of the previous gifts had worked, so Mu Tianming and his trusted subordinates came up with numerous other ideas. They realized, well, Prince Jing didn't lack anything. The one thing that was missing from his manor was wives. And so, Mu Tianming had decided to try gifting a few bed partners to Prince Jing. Not only could they entertain Prince Jing, he could also have someone around to speak on his behalf. It would kill two birds with one stone. All the dancers he'd brought to Prince Jing's manor were unrivaled in beauty. The lead dancer was a young man with an elegant and refined appearance, gleaming red lips and white teeth. With makeup, he was more beautiful than the female dancers. Mu Tianming had no idea what Prince Jing's taste might be, so he had prepared both men and women. What if, as they danced, one of them just so happened to catch Prince Jing's eye? Once the banquet began, Mu Tianming was the first to toast Prince Jing, but Prince Jing didn't like to drink, so he didn't accept. Then, Mu Tianming offered to bring out his dancers to perform for Prince Jing, but Prince Jing also didn't like to watch dance, so he declined this as well. Mu Tianming was suddenly put in an awkward position. The sixth prince, Mu Tianxiao, who was the third prince's lackey, hurried to smooth over the situation for Mu Tianming. He glanced at the seventh and eighth princes who were, after so long, finally able to leave the palace. Having heard there was a fresh new dance to watch, the two children couldn't be any more excited. Although Prince Jing didn't mingle with the adult princes much, he usually wouldn't oppose the younger ones. With Wang Shi's gentle encouragement, Prince Jing at last relented and permitted the dance to take place. That's kind of sweet. Like, he kind of is not really messing with his older siblings, but like he's like, all right. For the younger two, they're excited about this dance, fine. Bring out the dancers, they can watch it. At Mu Tianming's orders, the dancers finally emerged. He indulges the little ones. That's a great way to put it. The third prince had put in a lot of effort to plan this. After finding out that Prince Jing had acquired a pet fish recently, he specially choreographed a dance of fish and lotus. Most of the dancers wore green, playing the part of lotus leaves, while the lead dancer was dressed in white, transforming into an elegant lotus blossom. The third prince thought he had outdone himself. Prince Jing forced himself to watch. The third prince had said that this was a dance of fish and lotus, but he didn't see a single fish from beginning to end. He's so fish-coated, I love it. There was a dancer in white with a striking appearance, but his eyes held sorrow and resentment and seemed to glimmer with unshed tears. Rather than enjoyment, Prince Jing felt anger. Had this dancer been mistreated? Mu Tianxiao watched as Prince Jing stared fixedly at the lead dancer, and his heart nearly fell out of his chest out of fear that Mu Tianming was about to get Prince Jing over to his side. He rose as well and said sincerely, "A fifth brother, I'd like to personally apologize, as your brother, for the offense that my mother caused a few days ago. I hope you can find it in yourself to forgive her." As soon as the second prince spoke, servants took the chance to push the third prince's dancers to the side. The third prince was furious, but his hands were tied. You wouldn't dare fight with the second prince in front of a crowd, leaving him no choice but to swallow his irritation and observe the situation quietly. At Mu Tianxiao's mention of noble consort Chu, Prince Jing scoffed, and Wang Shi immediately spoke up on his behalf. "All will be fine if Lady Chu self-reflects properly, as the Emperor ordered. His Highness obviously won't ignore the Emperor's will and pursue the situation further." Mu Tianxiao's mouth was dry. He had originally planned to ask for Prince Jing's forgiveness, and then request for him to shorten the noble consort's house arrest. Why did he feel like Prince Jing had blocked any room for further discussion? Because he did. He very obviously did. "Your older brother has another request." Having failed once, Mu Tianxiao continued shamelessly. "My mother lost a luminous pearl. I heard one of Fifth Brother's servants picked it up. Thank you for keeping it safe, but if it's convenient for you, I ask that you please return it." The luminous pearl that Lady Chu had lost had been precious, but the way she had lost it was humiliating. In actuality, noble consort Chu never wanted to see the pearl ever again. Mu Tianxiao was just making an excuse. If Prince Jing returned the pearl, it would give off the impression that he and Prince Jing were on decent terms. That is a little devious. I do appreciate the deviousness. The Emperor loved seeing the two of them get together, even if it was fabricated. The second prince wanted the luminous pearl. Prince Jing exchanged looks with Wang Shi. The two of them instantly thought of the pearl lying at the bottom of the fish tank. Prince Jing didn't really care for noble consort Chu's pearl. He had given the little carp many jewels since then, and it hadn't touched the pearl in ages. He'd been meaning to secretly get rid of it, but if the second prince wanted it, he might as well return it. I wonder if Prince Jing likes the kids better. I mean, yeah. I don't blame him. Prince Jing nodded at Wang Shi. Mu Tianxiao was privately pleased. As long as Prince Jing handed over the luminous pearl, this would all be over. But Wang Gonggong chirped, "Second prince, please come with this old servant to retrieve the pearl." The older ones are so manipulative. Part of it's the time period, but yeah. Not exactly the best family dynamic here. I do appreciate that the Emperor actually cares, because a lot of times they don't in these kinds of stories, or like they only really care about themselves or their own legacy and not their children, or they view them as like being someone to look out for, like betraying them or backstabbing them. And this one's just like, I just kind of want my kids to get along and like the empire to be prosperous, which is kind of cool. I like this emperor a lot. Mu Tianxiao didn't know how to react. He'd been the one to ask, and Prince Jing didn't oppose it, so the second prince couldn't very well back down, especially with all the other princes watching. He followed Wang Shi through the winding halls to the interior of the manor. He was a little hesitant, afraid one of Prince Jing's henchmen would launch an attack from the dark. Thankfully, he made it out in one piece. Wang Shi let Mu Tianxiao into a room, pointed to a huge crystal fish tank, and said with a chuckle, "He feels like a very typical suburban dad became an emperor." That's a great way of putting it, and I kind of agree. Nice. There was an accident with the luminous pearl, and it sank to the bottom. A second prince, you may go ahead and retrieve it. Mu Tianxiao was horrified. Wang Shi was clearly making his life difficult on purpose. The second prince was appalled. What was Prince Jing doing? How did the luminous pearl end up in the fish tank? It was a colossal fish tank. Could barely see the end of it, and it was packed with jewels. How was he supposed to find it? Mu Tianxiao gritted his teeth and peered in. He wanted to locate the pearl first, then call for someone to retrieve it for him. He spotted a fish lying on a bed of white rocks. There was even a leaf covering the fish. How unusual. This fish seemed like the one Prince Jing had brought, his beloved pet fish. Mu Tianxiao and Lady Chu had both suffered at the hands, fins of this fish. Immediately, the second prince was on high alert. He wanted to stay far away from this accursed fish. That was when he realized that there was something strange about the way the fish was lying there. It was stiff all over, not the slightest movement. Prince Jing's fish seemed to have died again. The second prince's stomach dropped. I forgot about this part, in all honesty, and it's so great. All right, one moment. Chapter 19, The Fish Disappeared. Before all this, the second prince would have never spared a second thought for a fish. But this fish was different. He had to tread carefully. This fish had made serious trouble for him before. The wretched thing seemed to be dead, but it was all too possible that it was just playing a trick on him. After the emperor put noble consort Chu on house arrest, she had screamed herself hoarse that the fish was all part of Prince Jing's scheme. The second prince had similar suspicions, but if he wanted to save his image in front of the emperor, if he wanted to make sure the crown prince position was firmly his, then he couldn't ignore Prince Jing. He certainly couldn't show him any outward disrespect. Prince Jing's position was unique. He could be considered a test for whoever was next in line. The crown prince had to make the emperor think he was benevolent and treated all his brothers well, especially Prince Jing, who was of nobler birth than he. So even if the second prince and noble consort Chu had to suffer a little bit now, it would be worth it. After what had happened with Lady Chu, he knew that no matter what this fish did, he couldn't take it lightly. In the face of sudden change, he himself must remain unchanged. Since Wang Shi had come here with him, as long as he pretended he hadn't noticed anything, Prince Jing couldn't pin the blame on him. So that was exactly what he did, but he couldn't help it. His eyes kept being drawn back to the cursed fish. It had been a while now, and the fish still didn't so much as move. The second prince's eyelid twitched. That fish might really be dead. Had to get out of here as soon as possible. The second prince turned to Wang Shi. I still have something to take care of at home, so I'll be taking my leave now. If the luminous pearl is found, please have someone bring it back to me. Wang Shi smiled and shook his head. Since your highness asked for it personally, you must, of course, take a look yourself first. Fear the fish! Yup. Wang Shi had been with Prince Jing for many years and frequently came in contact with Mu Tianxiao. But this was the first time Mu Tianxiao had thought this old geezer was hard to get rid of. The more he wanted to leave, the harder it was for him to do so. Right at that moment, a servant who had been designated to take care of the fish walked in. He immediately sensed something was wrong and pointed at the fish in the tank. He hurried to say, Wang Gong, look, His Highness's fish isn't moving. Mu Tianxiao let out a barrage of curses in his head. Wang Shi quickly ran over and examined the fish from several angles. He knew this little carp had a problem of constantly falling asleep, as it hadn't been moving around much recently. Wang Shi hadn't thought much of it when he saw the fish lying there quietly, but now that the servant had mentioned it, it was a little too quiet. Had something happened to the fish? Wang Shi immediately and carefully scrutinized the fish for a little while more, before saying uncertainly, "Don't take your eyes off the fish. I'm going to go get His Highness." His expression was grim as he turned to Mu Tianxiao. "A second prince. His Highness will be here shortly. Please wait a moment." Oh my gosh, my nose is so itchy. Mu Tianxiao had suffered at the fins of this fish before, and the fear still lingered. And now Wang Shi was trapping him here, which made him rather angry. "What do you mean by this? What does Prince Jing's fish have to do with me? I didn't even touch it." "Oh? Second Prince, this old servant didn't say anything. Why are you getting so flustered?" Wang Shi chuckled insincerely. "Perhaps you weren't aware, but this fish is our Highness's precious pet. Even the Emperor knows about it. It's nothing personal. Anyone who enters this room must wait for His Highness to make a decision." He really was relying on his master's authority, and even had the audacity to bring up the Emperor. Mu Tianxiao's gaze went cold. If even one of Prince Jing's servants dared to treat him like this, then what kind of attitude would Prince Jing have towards him? Not for the first time, his mind strayed to the crown prince position. Fine. He'd let this mute have his moment of smugness. Once he was on the throne, he'd make sure he wouldn't even be able to cry. Mu Tianxiao forced his expression to relax. He said, "Let's just wait for my fifth brother, then." Ninghuai Hall. After the second prince left, Mu Tianming suggested the dancers continue. The third prince refused to let the second prince disrupt his hard work. Prince Jing didn't care either way. There was no harm in the performance continuing. The first few notes of the music had only just filled the air when a familiar little servant sprinted in. Despite how far away he was, it was still clear the servant was in a hurry and anxious. Prince Jing vaguely recognized the servant. He always followed Wang Shi around. He waved the servant over. The servant immediately approached and whispered into the prince's ear. The servant wasn't clear on the details either. He had just been sent over in a hurry by Wang Shi. Following Wang Gonggong's instructions, he relayed that something had happened to Master Fish and that they had to consult Prince Jing, but the servants couldn't elaborate on the specifics. Prince Jing remembered that the second prince had gone to retrieve the luminous pearl. It was more than likely the second prince was involved, which explained Wang Shi's ambiguous instructions. Did the second prince harm his fish? Prince Jing's expression hardened. With a swish of his sleeves, he sent the singers and dancers away. The third prince made to protest, but Prince Jing just waved him off and headed into the inner chambers. He quickly arrived at his room. Wang Shi and all the servants were waiting there, along with the second prince, who had a somewhat ugly look on his face. Prince Jing completely ignored the second prince, and before Wang Shi could say anything, made a beeline for the crystal fish tank. His fish lay there quietly on the white rock bed. Prince Jing studied it for a while, then reached into the water and touched the fish's back. As soon as his fingers brushed its scales, his expression changed. He immediately scooped the little carp out. Wang Shi inched closer, and out of the corner of his eye, he saw Prince Jing squeeze the fish flat. Wang Shi realized quickly, "Your Highness, this isn't a real fish." Prince Jing threw the fake fish at Wang Shi. Wang Shi held it in his hand, turning it around and around. From a distance, this fake fish really did look like the real thing, but it felt soft and had no bones. How was it made? The little carp wasn't in the fish tank, and a fake fish had taken its place. Now this was a disaster. Dun, dun, dun! Your Highness, who would do such a thing? You know, I've never seen a plush fish in a tank, but I feel like that had to be one convincing plushie. Right? Like, photorealistic. He's been fish-napped! Your Highness, who would do such a thing? Placing a fake fish in the fish tank was clearly a tactic to fool them. Who had the nerve? More importantly, where was the real fish? Mutian Shao had planned to clarify the situation, to tell them that this time the fish dying had nothing to do with him. But now it turned out the fish was fake? He was utterly speechless. And worst of all, he was the only outsider to have stepped foot in Prince Jing's room. Prince Jing's gaze landed on him, pinning him in place. The second prince felt like he had fallen into a trap again, this time by a fake fish. He wanted to defend himself, say that he had absolutely nothing to do with the fake fish, or the real one, but would Prince Jing believe him? Waterproof too, right? The second prince was about to protest when something flashed before his eyes. The next thing he knew, Prince Jing's sword was held against his neck. Fifth brother, what are you doing? I had nothing to do with this. The second prince really is unlucky. I mean, he's plotting, so like I don't have that much sympathy for him, but he does get the short end of the stick a lot. Yes. Like, he's a schemer, so like balances out. The second prince was scared out of his wits. It felt like Prince Jing's sword was about to slice through his throat. He never thought Prince Jing would threaten him over a fish. That escalated quickly. Yes, it did, Truffle. Prince Jing's sharp gaze flickered over to Wang Shi, and Wang Shi spoke for him. A second prince, please tell the truth. He attacks him like immediately over the fish. Yep. He doesn't play when his fish is on the line. I really am. I only came to retrieve the luminous pearl. I may not like this fish, but if I had really done something, why would I have put a fake fish in? Wouldn't it make more sense for me to just throw it away? The second prince was desperate to live. I mean, he's like helping himself a little, but not really, by saying like, if I really did, I'd just kill the thing. Prince Jing studied the second prince for a while, eyes narrowed, considering the veracity of his words. Cold sweat poured down the second prince's face in rivulets. Finally, Prince Jing lowered his sword and ordered people to escort the second prince out. Considering that his life was on the line, Mutian Shao was probably speaking the truth. There was no need for him to do something in such a roundabout way. Besides, if anything like this happened, the second prince would be the first suspect. There really was no reason for him to do something so stupid. It probably wasn't Mutian Shao. But the fake fish was clearly there as a distraction to keep him from discovering the fish had vanished. Who would go to such lengths? To what end? Prince Jing had acted out of anger just now, using violence to try to force Mutian Shao to tell the truth. Now that he had calmed down a little, he started ordering people to investigate whether anything was amiss with the room. It's pretty smart. After a round of inspecting, the servants discovered the window to the south was ajar. Prince Jing didn't usually open his windows. That specific window faced his garden. There had been quite a few tea bowls on the ground, so that the little carp could come out of its tank and roam around. Prince Jing had a good memory and could recall the exact location of each tea bowl. After counting, he realized that one was missing. The simplest inference was that someone had used the tea bowl to steal the fish, then escaped through the window. Prince Jing contemplated the situation some more. Then he ordered the servants to search through the room and see if anything else was missing or had been moved. After a while, Wang Shi came back to report. Your Highness, Someone has gone through your closet. A set of inner robes and underwear is gone. Nothing else is missing or has been touched. That's gotta be awkward. Prince Jing didn't know how to react. Wang Shi was confused too. Someone had stolen both His Highness's fish and his underwear? There was clearly something wrong with this thief. On Prince Jing's orders, Wang Shi commanded the servants to investigate anyone suspicious in the direction of the gardens, especially anyone holding a tea bowl. Prince Jing would stop at nothing, even if it meant having to dig into the ground to find his little carp. I kind of love that. He's like, I'm gonna do anything and everything for my fish. While Prince Jing was busy trying to find his fish, a youth was making his way down the ornamental mountain. An hour ago, after drinking the transformation medicine, Liu had lost consciousness. When he came to, he realized he had returned to his human form. Liu was absolutely elated. I feel really sorry for whoever had to report this to the Emperor. Prince Jing is committed, very much so. Little side tangent, and I can post this later, maybe the link in the community page or something. There's actually a crossover where it's like the beloved consorts, the disabled tyrant's beloved pet fish, but it's Scum Villain. So it's the characters of Scum Villain, but the person who gets transmigrated is Shen Yuan, and Bingha is acting out as the disabled tyrant. I can post that fic. It reminded me of this in this sense right here. It's actually really well written and it's complete. I'll post that in the what is it? My posts page after this. Shen Yuan gets no breaks. Yeah. It is wild. Yes. Sorry. Brain went off tangent, but I will definitely post that in the post page after. An hour ago, after drinking the transformation medicine, Liu had lost consciousness. When he came to, he realized he had returned to his human form. Liu was absolutely elated. He was even more ecstatic upon looking at his reflection in the bronze mirror. He had returned to his original appearance. But immediately after that, he was faced with a fresh new danger. Now that he'd turned back into a human, he wasn't wearing any fucking clothes! You hadn't thought about the issue of clothing because when he was a fish, he was covered in scales that were a part of his body. As soon as he turned human, though, his clothes were nowhere to be seen. The fish scamming system hadn't mentioned such an important detail. Fine. It was this fish scamming system after all. The most pressing thing right now was to find some clothes. Liu had transformed in Prince Jing's room. When he was a fish, he saw Prince Jing every day, so he obviously knew where the prince kept his clothes. There were only Prince Jing's clothes here anyway. Liu went to look in his closet. There were all kinds of clothes in Prince Jing's closet, but he was much taller than Liu. In addition, long robes and wide sleeves were more common in ancient times. It was going to look ridiculous in Prince Jing's outer robes. Without the proper robes inside, when he walked, it would be easy to accidentally reveal something. But that wasn't his biggest concern right now. Most of the servants would be able to recognize their master's clothes. Liu was afraid of having his cover blown, arousing suspicion, but he couldn't just walk around in the nude. After some careful thought, he picked out a set of Prince Jing's inner robes and underwear. Robes worn against the skin were always slightly smaller than outer robes. Inner robes also didn't have any embroidery or patterns, so they ought to be less conspicuous. Plus, he had taken the clothes from a closet Prince Jing barely touched. They were probably either new or spare. He wouldn't feel too weird wearing it. Anyway, he needed to look at the big picture here. Even if Prince Jing had worn it, he just had to grit his teeth and bear it. An innocent boy like him couldn't just run around buck naked. There was nothing he could do about the shoes. Prince Jing's feet were larger than his. He might as well go barefoot if he had to wear such ill-fitting shoes. Besides, it was easier to move around without them. Back in his own world, he had short hair, but in a rare display of benevolence, the system had changed it up for him. He now had medium-length hair down to his shoulders, which wouldn't stand out too much in the ancient world. Liu casually gathered the hair at the back of his head and changed into the robes. He then filled a tea bowl with clear water and put some fish food in it, successfully combining the three objects into one and stored it in his inventory. That was pretty smart of him. He glanced one last time at the life-size fish plushie lying perfectly in his place in the fish tank. As long as no one went to touch it, they wouldn't suspect a thing. Everything was ready. Liu deliberately opened the window closest to the garden. He, of course, wouldn't leave through this window. There were probably loads of guests wandering the garden. This was just to divert attention. Then he opened a different window, one facing an ornamental mountain with no guards in sight. After clambering onto the windowsill, Liu carefully wiped away his footprints and ducked inside a hole in the ornamental mountain. Liu missed his calling as a cat burglar. I just remembered, due to the crossover being complete, it will have spoilers for the rest of the series if you do read it. So if you are new to reading this, you might want to wait till we're done with this. But if you don't mind some spoilers for this book, it's a nice mix between, but they follow pretty closely to where this book goes. They just throw a little scumvillain mix in there. So there's a heads up about that. I will still definitely post the link. But all right, chapter 20. A fleeting glance. Perhaps Liu had been a fish for too long and was too used to the swishing motions of swimming, but it was a little harder than he expected to control his legs. At first, it felt like he was floating rather than walking, and he kept stumbling. But this feeling didn't persist for very long, and he soon got used to it. Because he didn't have suitable shoes, his feet were bare. Luckily, the weather was warm, so he didn't feel cold. Prince Jing's manor was kept very clean, and by paying attention to the ground beneath his feet, he managed to avoid getting into any accidents after he had made his way out of the ornamental mountain. But with bare feet and only inner robes, he was a terrible eyesore. That was also why the servants who ran into the unfamiliar Liu didn't dare approach and question him. Well, it kind of worked out in his favor then. Prince Jing was hosting a banquet today. The manor was filled with guests, all of whom were nobility or aristocracy, and would need an invitation to enter. There were guards keeping watch outside the manor too, so there wouldn't be strangers wandering within the manor's yards. Someone bold enough to dress like this was probably some lord's son acting out. Sometimes Liu is so smart, like opening a second window, and then he runs around without shoes on in the time equivalent of underwear and thinks it wouldn't be conspicuous. Oh, is the time equivalent of underwear. Oh no, yeah. No, I get you, Mo Mars Rover. I agree. Yep. Sometimes he's so smart but so dumb at the same time. Yes. It also wasn't appropriate to just let this little lord wander around like that. Someone had already dashed off to retrieve Wang Gong Gong so he could take care of it. Other people followed Liu from a distance. Also, how big is this mountain? Why does Prince Jing have an ornamental mountain? I mean, dude literally gave jewels, enough jewels to fill a ridiculously large fish tank, the bottom of it, to his fish. I feel like the guy's rolling in money and if he wants an ornamental mountain. Like, think about later some of the things that happen. Like, guy is not lacking in money. So, a kind auntie servant saw Liu walking barefoot and couldn't bear to watch any longer. She came up to him and asked in a gentle voice, "Which family are you from? Why are you dressed like this?" Having heard Wang Shi talk quite a lot, Liu didn't have any problem speaking to other people in ancient times. He replied vaguely, "Ma'am, I am here as a guest. I got lost." He thought he had everything down pat when he had been planning this all out, but complications kept cropping up. First, he had neither clothes nor shoes, then, after he figured that out, he thought the kitchens would be easy to find. Except Prince Jing's manor was way too big. Yeah, she's a sweetie. He was too afraid to ask for directions and was starting to get frustrated and anxious. It had already been hard enough to find his way out of the ornamental mountain. She's really nice. She really is a sweetie. The auntie could see that this young man's face was clean, delicate, and likable. His dark eyes were exceptionally spirited, looking like a pair of black beads submerged in mercury. She couldn't help the fondness flooding her heart. "If the little lord is lost, how about I take you to see Wang Gong," said the auntie. There's no way he could come face to face with Wang Shi. "No need," he said hurriedly. "Wang Gong must be at Ninghuai Hall right now. I'll be able to find my way back, but, Auntie, do you know where the kitchens are?" He rubbed his stomach red-faced. The auntie immediately understood and chuckled. "Is the little lord hungry? If you think me trustworthy, please follow me." The auntie was wearing what the servants at the prince's manor wore, and she had an apron on. Liu implicitly trusted Prince Jing's servants, so he followed the auntie into the kitchen. Liu talked with her the whole way there and found out that auntie was a cook in Prince Jing's kitchens. Liu felt like he had hit the jackpot. There was no way he was going to go hungry with a cook leading the way. This auntie's last name was Xu. When the two arrived at the kitchens, Liu's eyes practically fell out of his sockets. Here, at last, were the dishes that he had been dreaming about day in and day out. He's such a glutton. Auntie Xu brought out a plate with a smile and asked Liu what he liked to eat. Liu stared at the food, drooling, and listed out a whole bunch of dishes shamelessly. Auntie Xu picked out a few based on his preferences and carried over 2 whole plates, along with a wooden bowl packed full of steaming white rice on a tray. "These dishes have already been brought out to the masters, so they won't be needing them anymore. These are all extras, and no one's touched them yet. Please eat as much as you want." This was the first time anyone had been so kind to him since he'd turned back into a human. The thick steam rising from the food made his eyes water. He thanked Auntie Xu, accepted the bowl, and began wolfing it down. The unique taste of human food bloomed on the tips of his tongue, making him feel like his time as a fish had been nothing but a dream, and yet... Staring down at his bare feet, he remembered the medicine was just a temporary fix. Very soon, he would turn back into a fish. Auntie Xu saw he was inhaling food as though he hadn't been fed in several days and urged him to slow down in case he choked. Liu smiled, but didn't explain. "Little lord, why are you alone?" Auntie Xu asked hesitantly. The youth before her was about the same age as her younger son, and she couldn't help but feel concerned. Her words brought his worries back to mind, but he couldn't mention Prince Jing outright, so he replied, My master is about to get married. He won't have time for me anymore, so I came out for a stroll." And Tishu paused. Master? Married? Was this youth the male concubine of some noble? And no wonder he had run out in such a rumpled state. He'd probably been tossed out by the future wife and gone hungry for some time. Auntie Shu's imagination conjured up a whole scene of the Dai wife dealing with this side wife. Liu made it sound pitiful, but she didn't look down on him. On the contrary, she patted his hand kindly and comforted him. Don't worry. Stay here for a little longer and eat some more. But he couldn't continue walking around in just his inner robes. After taking a quick glance at Liu's size, Auntie Xue pulled out a set of her younger son's clean robes and a pair of cloth shoes. The robes were a jade green, the same color as the seaweed that Liu liked. Liu had just been worrying about what to do about his clothes and shoes, and he was delighted by this turn of events. He briefly considered discarding what he wore already as he changed, but in the end, he decided to continue wearing Prince Jing's inner robes and underwear. Auntie Xue probably thought Liu would feel awkward if she prodded any further, so she didn't continue asking. She's such a sweetheart. I like her. Finally getting the chance to indulge in human food, Liu only very reluctantly put down his chopsticks when there was a slight bulge rounding out his stomach. After he finished, he followed Auntie Xue around in the kitchen, using it as an opportunity to digest the food he just ate, a habit he'd picked up from being in Prince Jing's care and maintained even as a human. He's gotta get his little swim in. The ancient kitchen was bustling with activity. The assortment of knives and cutting boards caught Liu's attention, but he knew to look only with his eyes and keep his hands to himself, so the cooks didn't get mad. He also noticed the fish basket and remembered the noble consort's thousand-carp soup from when he first transmigrated. He asked curiously, "Auntie, are you going to make thousand-carp soup too?" Auntie Xue laughed. "That's a dish for birthday banquets in the palace. The prince's manor doesn't have such customs. His Highness did have fish soup often in the past, but he's stopped now." As Auntie Xue spoke, it seemed more and more like she was just talking to herself. But Liu heard and thought, is that because of me? After all, Prince Jing really did dote on him. As he thought about it, all the different ways that Prince Jing was good to him, Liu couldn't help feeling a little sad. Just once I'd like to see a die wife and concubine team up. That would be awesome. I mean, if you really want to talk about something like that. Oh, hang on, this is stuck. Oh, well, that's not coming up. I mean, you get a little bit of that at Apothecary Diaries, like slightly with some of the concubines. But no, I hear where you're coming from. Sorry, my sweater is stuck and I wanted to put it on. That's not coming up. All right, that's going to be an after stream thing. I think I have another one here. Oh, that'll do. Okay. Sounds like a great plot for a lesbian romance novel. Yeah, it does. I agree. Auntie Xue smiled as she asked him, "Did you ask about fish soup because you wanted some?" Liu shook his head emphatically. Why would he, a fish, drink fish soup? Please, no. He changed the subject and asked Auntie Xue where the opera stage had been set up. According to his plan, after eating and enjoying a little opera, he should be headed back. He had already lost a substantial amount of time due to the issue of the clothes and getting lost, and he didn't know how much longer he had. Auntie Xue informed him that the stage was in Yayin Garden near Ninghui Hall. Liu had made to hurry there, but he caught a glimpse of a few bamboo boxes just before he left. These bamboo boxes looked familiar to Liu. Auntie Xue generously opened a few to show him. This is the fish food His Highness asked for specifically. There are many kinds, though it's not anything rare. For some reason, Liu's nose started to sting, as if he was about to cry. He pointed at the box holding red fish food. "Can I take some?" Auntie Xue asked. "Of course. The kitchens have plenty, so we won't run out, but this is for fish. Are you sure you want some?" Liu nodded. Yes. Auntie Xue packed up half a box for him, assuming he also had a fish. Liu stuffed it into his sleeve the way people in ancient times did. Then he thanked Auntie Shu and headed towards Yayin Garden. I actually invented a cultivator clan where the clan leader took on his wife's girlfriend as a concubine. That sounds pretty awesome. There's actually, since we're talking about alternate things, there's actually a pretty funny Scum Villain story. We're just bringing up Scum Villain this time, where Shen Yuan transmigrates as like just a random side character that like dies eventually, but where Binghe is sent as like a house servant before the story starts, basically, and comes back year after year. But Shen Yuan has terrible luck and actually realizes he swings a different way, and kind of is trying to break the plot, and basically is planning like to marry someone who's cool with having kids and also swings a different way, and like bring in a concubine that way. I might be posting a lot of different stories in the posts after this, I guess. That one's a good one, and it's complete too. That one's kind of cute and funny. But continuing on, as he passed Ninghuai Hall, he definitely had to hold himself back from peeking in, Liu thought wearily. At this time, the main characters, top and bottom, were meeting. It had nothing to do with him, and there was no need for a fish to do anything. He steadfastly avoided looking in the direction of Ninghuai Hall. At Yayin Garden, he could hear the sounds of the opera in the distance, but the guards outside Yayin Garden stopped him and asked to see his identification. Ah, the plague of no pockets. Yeah, I feel that pain. Oh no, Liu thought. No one had checked him in the kitchens. Why did he need to be checked at the opera? Besides, where was he supposed to get such a thing? It hadn't occurred to Liu that because he was wearing Auntie Shu's son's old robes and clean shoes, he looked like a servant. The manor's rules stated that ordinary servants were not permitted in Yayin Garden, which was why the guards stopped him. Liu didn't argue with the guards. He didn't have much time left. He didn't need to watch the opera, and if he wasn't welcomed here, then there were other places that he could visit. Liu decided to go somewhere else, but as soon as he turned around, came face to face with a familiar figure. Wasn't that Wang Shi Gong? Liu barely had time to open his mouth to greet him when Wang Shi waved his hand and all the nearby guards surrounded Liu. Capture this person! Wang Shi was still panting. It was clear he had been running for a while. Just a few minutes ago, he had been scouring the garden with Prince Jing. He hadn't paid much mind to the news traveling around. That is, until he heard a servant say there was a young lord dressed in only inner robes wandering around the manor. The more Wang Shi thought about it, the more likely he thought that this was the thief who had stolen Prince Jing's clothes. He pondered further. The clothes had gone missing together with the fish. That meant the person who stole the clothes was the thief who stole the fish. He immediately alerted Prince Jing, sending someone to fetch him so he could take a look. Liu was shocked at seeing Wang Shi stop him. There was no way all of his arrangements in Prince Jing's room had been found out that quickly. And then he remembered that he was now human. He had to be careful to not reveal anything and raise Wang Shi's suspicions. Liu smiled as he asked, Wang Gong, what is it? Wang Shi scoffed. You thief! You dare ask when you stole His Highness's fish? Liu did a double take. Wang Gong had always been cordial towards him. He wasn't used to being yelled at. Sob, sob, sob. Wait, did they already discover the fish plushie in the window he had purposely left open? There wasn't much time left. He was captured by Wang Shi, and he transformed into a fish in front of all these guards. Liu wanted to calm down, but this wasn't something that could be solved by calming down. He had to find a place to hide first. He couldn't turn into a fish in front of all these people. Yeah, that'd be pretty bad. An idea struck. He yanked something out from inside his sleeve and yelled, "Over there!" He hurled the object with all his might. With Wang Shi and the guards distracted, he turned on his heel and broke into a sprint. Wang Shi originally hadn't been that certain if this youth was the thief, so he had bluffed. But now, seeing him running away, that meant he really was guilty. Wang Shi is so close, but so far. He really is. But the thief was too quick, and Wang Shi didn't get to see what he had flung before he made his escape. Wang Shi gritted his teeth, terrified the person might have thrown the fish out. He quickly ordered a few guards to take a look, while he and the rest of the guards gave chase. Liu sprinted as fast as he could and found a room to hide in. Meanwhile, Prince Jing had been searching with a few people in the gardens. After receiving Wang Shi's message, he rushed over to meet up with him. Together, they trapped Liu in the room where he was hiding. It was quickly confirmed that what the youth had thrown was fish food. There was no doubt about it. This person had stolen the fish. Wang Shi couldn't have been more furious. Once he caught that person, righteous justice would be doled out. Not only had this person caused trouble during a banquet, they even dared to steal the prince's clothes and his cute, lively fish. That's adorable. She's like, the audacity. They took his clothes and the adorable fish. How dare. They deserve to be sliced through thousands of times. Oh, I love these characters. Hurry up and come out. Hand over the prince's fish, otherwise you'll have to face the consequences. Wang Gong yelled fiercely as he banged on the door. Liu poked a hole in the window and peeked out. Prince Jing stood outside the room, grim-faced and holding his sword. But as soon as Liu laid eyes on Prince Jing, his fish instincts kicked in and he wanted to swish his tail. Wang Shi is almost as into the fish as the prince. He really is. Like, he has definitely gone from just like, oh, hey, the prince kind of likes this fish, which is a little weird, but like, I'm glad that he's happy, to, how dare you hurt the fish? Suffer. Then he remembered that he was human right now. Prince Jing didn't know him as a human. If they met, that sword in the prince's hand would stab him to death. He's not wrong. Wang Shi wanted him to hand over the fish. On one hand, he was very moved. On the other hand, that wasn't what he wanted at all. The fish in question was right in front of them. What was Liu supposed to hand over? I mean, he does like to keep the prince happy, but like, I think he has kind of come to care about the fish at least a little bit. At first, he was planning to wait until everyone had left before leaving the room, but with the situation as it was now, Prince Jing and Wang Shi were both waiting for him like predators outside the burrow of a rabbit. There's no way he was leaving anytime soon. It's excessive. Liu's tears were practically flowing down his face. All I did was go out to eat. How did I end up in this situation? He is really good to the prince. Stupid system. It usually played dead, but now it was giving him a... Oh, wait. Suddenly, the system beeped a warning. User, you cannot maintain your human form for much longer. Stupid system. Usually played dead, but now it was giving him a countdown? He was about to turn back. It had taken so much work to transform just once, and now it was all going to be over. Liu only had time to eat one meal. But that wasn't the most important part. The important part was that right now he was trapped in this room. If he turned back into a fish right now, how was he supposed to explain how a human disappeared the same time the fish appeared? Liu had an idea. Counting down the time, he yelled at the people outside the door. I won't leave! Come and get me! If you catch me, I'll hand over the fish. Oh, hi, Cookielicious. Welcome to the stream. You've arrived at a pretty funny part. Liu was trying to buy some time for himself, as well as prepare for what was to come. When a cornered person made such a bold challenge, the reasonable assumption was that they laid some kind of trap, so the people outside usually wouldn't barge in right away. He thought this would be enough to make Prince Jing falter for a bit, but he'd barely finished shouting before Prince Jing broke through the door. Liu yelped in alarm. A youth Mu Tianxi had never seen before was standing stock still in a jade green robe. The young man glanced back at him before hastily escaping out a window. Mu Tianxi wasn't going to fall for the same trick twice. He had previously been fooled by the open window, mistakenly believing that the thief had left that way. The thief's deception had led him to look in the wrong place, and he had failed to catch the thief. This time, he made sure the person had absolutely no escape out of this room. He had several guards stationed at each of the windows before ordering Wang Shi to yell at the thief within. Mu Tianxi chased after the youth, his long legs carrying him across the room in just a few strides, but the youth had already leapt onto the windowsill. He looked over his shoulder and flashed Prince Jing a mischievous smile. Mu Tianxi froze. Was it just him, or did this youth? He was a delicate, clean young man, his eyes as bright as colored glaze. There was something unbelievably familiar in the way his lips quirked up. Mu Tianxi hesitated for a moment, but that moment cost him. All he managed to catch was a single corner of the suspicious youth's robe. In the blink of an eye, the youth jumped out of the window. Mu Tianxi wasn't concerned, though. He waited quietly for the guards lying in wait to capture the youth. But after a while, he still heard nothing. Okay, so here's the picture. Well, there he is escaping out the window. So I'm going to close up on the picture. So there's the window. There's the cheeky little grin. There's Mu Tianxi. I like how surprised he looks. Like I mean, his little smirk's cute, but like, Mu Tianxi is like, huh? He made his way outside to look for himself. The hidden guards reported that they hadn't seen anyone. Mu Tianxi furrowed his brows and spotted a heap of clothes piled up beneath the window, and on the ground was a tea bowl with his fish inside swimming happily. I agree. Liu is so cute and the art is great. I definitely agree. Chapter 21. Fish selling himself. Liu's go-to strategy strikes again. Liu's head was swimming at first, but he very quickly realized that he had turned back into a fish. His plan should have been foolproof. He was going to act like he had escaped out the window, disappeared, and left only the fish behind. But first of all, he wasn't expecting Prince Jing to break in so fast. Okay, yes, he was touched at how deeply Prince Jing cared about a fish, but now he had no time for his plan. Not only had the prince seen his true appearance, but he had also almost transformed right in front of him. He had nearly tripped in his haste to escape out the window. It was a good thing he'd turned back into a fish the moment he'd jumped, because it turned out Prince Jing had stationed people outside as well, even if he had escaped from the window. So what? There were all these guards out here, and not one of them had seen so much as a glimpse of him. That's kind of impressive, let's be real. He must have, instantly, just fish. How could anyone explain the fact that a person had just disappeared and left behind a pile of clothes? Liu thought that, at this moment, Prince Jing was even more of a cheater than the system. At least when the system tricked him, he could find a way to get around it. But when it was Prince Jing tricking him, there was nothing he could do about it. The guards who had been lying in wait all agreed that they hadn't seen any youths. As he watched Prince Jing come closer to examine his clothes, Liu wagged his tail hard, hoping to divert Prince Jing's attention. There shouldn't be anything incriminating about the clothes he had left behind, but he was afraid Prince Jing would somehow connect the dots. Although the reason he was swishing his tail was to distract Prince Jing, it looked a bit like he was selling himself. Selling myself is a bit okay, a little bit, but I absolutely cannot be mistaken for a fish spirit. As soon as Prince Jing heard his tail move, he swooped down to pick up the tea bowl. Liu swished his tail even more vigorously. Vigorously. Prince Jing was still a little angry. He glared at the fish, sparking some guilt in Liu. Knowing how much the prince liked it, he curled his tail around Prince Jing's finger, hoping to appease him. Every time his tail touched the prince's finger, Prince Jing seemed to relax a little. As expected, faced with Liu's acting cute on purpose, Prince Jing temporarily forgot about the pile of clothes. Lips pursed, the prince pinched the little carp's back gently. Liu knew that this meant he was willing to play with him. Pushing his embarrassment aside, Liu continued to sell himself by acting cute. A guard walked over to give his report. Your Highness, there's a pond nearby. Perhaps the thief caught the guards before they were ready and swam off. The guards had come to this conclusion because of the clothes. After all, a person couldn't just disappear into thin air. They'd already given themselves headaches trying to figure this out, but this was the only possibility they could come up with. I mean, that's not a bad thought to have, in all honesty. If someone literally disappears and there's a lake nearby and they left their clothes, like, that's honestly a pretty smart assumption. Liu was shocked. They could even find a rational explanation for something like this. Yeah, right? It made sense, though. A normal person would never consider the prospect of a human turning into a fish or a fish turning into a human. Their first deduction would, of course, be that the suspicious youth managed to get away. The guard's explanation wasn't outside the realm of possibility. Prince Jing nodded, wanting to take a look at the pond himself, in case there were any suspicious footprints or anything like that. Liu desperately threw himself into his palm. There was nothing at the pond. He couldn't let Prince Jing go look. Prince Jing's brow was relaxed, despite Liu's frequent interruptions. He knocked on the fish's head lightly. Liu had been wondering for a while now why Prince Jing kept doing that, but no one could tell him. Seeing that Prince Jing was no longer so wary, though, Liu let out a sigh of relief. He'd finally managed to escape unscathed. It wasn't a terrible outcome that they'd all concluded he must have escaped through the pond. After the guards finished examining his clothing, Wang Shi also confirmed that the inner robes and underwear were on the ground and belonged to Prince Jing. The rest of the clothing consisted of an ordinary old robe and a pair of old cloth shoes. Auntie Xue was brought over in a matter of minutes. She identified the robe she had given to the youth. Auntie Xue felt terrible. Never did she expect that harmless, innocent youth to be a master fish-stealing thief. As she recalled giving the youth fish food, she felt so immensely regretful she wanted to kick herself. She told them everything she knew, that the fish thief was a male concubine who had been chased out by the master's dye wife. Wang Gonggong didn't know how to process the information. What kind of ridiculous reason was that? This person stole His Highness's fish because he was being bullied by the dye wife? What did that have to do with anything? Yeah. Liu was also listening in Prince Jing's hand, but he could barely understand what they were talking about. He was just someone who'd gotten lost. How did the auntie manage to come up with this scenario when that he was someone's side wife? Auntie Xue kept kowtowing. Liu couldn't bear to watch. He peeked at Prince Jing, afraid he was going to punish her out of anger. After observing Prince Jing's expression, Wang Shi intoned severely. For hiding a thief, she should be thrown out of the manor. Liu's heart nearly stopped. No, he wasn't even a thief. Auntie Xue just felt sorry for him and gave him some food to eat. Why did she have to be chased out? He didn't want to get Auntie Xue in trouble, all because she had been kind enough to help him. Liu hurriedly curled his tail around Prince Jing's finger, and then rubbed back and forth pitifully. Prince Jing looked down. He did find the fish in the end, and his pet fish seemed unharmed. Prince Jing was in a pretty good mood. He glanced at Wang Shi. Wang Shi immediately understood. Since the fish master has returned unharmed, and in consideration of the fact that you weren't aware of the situation, we won't throw you out this time. 30 strikes of the board. Let this be a lesson learned. Tears of gratitude poured down her face. She had been too careless. She couldn't afford to lose this job at the prince's manor. Her skin was thick, and a beating was nothing compared to expulsion. I mean, we kind of see the prince already, moving away from the tyrant status with this. But still really sucks for Auntie Xue. Liu still wasn't happy with this outcome, but as he watched Auntie Xue bow in thanks, sincerity written all over her face, he hoped he had at least helped a little. The guilt in his heart eased somewhat. If he overused his charms, the effects would eventually wear off. Liu stopped before it was too late. Prince Jing, who had been enjoying the fish's attention, was suddenly left bereft. Wang Shi waved away Auntie Xue and said to the prince, Your Highness, Servant Xue has been dealt with, but this old servant still thinks something is off. Why did the thief steal the fish? Remembering the sleeve he had torn off earlier, Prince Jing indicated to Wang Shi to bring it over. Aside from a few wet patches, there was a silver scale caught on the cloth. Holy shit, how could he leave behind such an obvious clue? Your Highness, Wang Shi said, shocked. How could a fish scale be stuck to the thief's sleeve? A shadow passed over Prince Jing's face. There had been a fish scale on noble consort Chu's handkerchief after she had touched the fish. Since there was one on the thief's sleeve, that could only mean one thing. The thief had also touched the fish. How dare he? Wang Shi spoke for Prince Jing. Your Highness, the fish master has truly suffered a lot. Prince Jing patted the fish's head to comfort him. Should he celebrate the fact that he had tricked the noble consort before? Now that Prince Jing had found the fish, Wang Shi reminded him that there were still guests at Ninghui Hall. The guests all had to wait for him to return to bid their goodbyes if they wanted to leave. That's kind of funny. This was, after all, a banquet planned by the emperor. It was normal enough for the host to leave temporarily to deal with some things. That was just what Prince Jing was like, but he couldn't just come and go as he pleased. Since Prince Jing was too lazy to go back to his rooms, he headed straight for Ninghui Hall, holding the fish in the tea bowl in his hands. Liu, who had been planning to use the time to secretly take care of a few loose ends, silently protested. No, he didn't want to go meet the second master. But a fish had no say in its master's decisions. Prince Jing carried him into Ninghui Hall and placed him down on the main table. Every single guest in the hall stopped in their tracks. They had all heard that Prince Jing had started taking care of a fish and that he treasured it like nothing else. This must have been it. It wasn't clear who started it, but the guests all started to shower praise upon the little carp. Liu swished his tail happily, feeling a bit giddy. Yeah, he wasn't as good as they said he was. Yes, he was indeed cute and intelligent, but anyone who said he was prettier than a koi had to be blind. Suddenly, Liu's dark eyes landed on a young man in white dance robes. The youth was exceptionally pretty, his features so fine that they could have been painted on. Amidst the chaos, he stood quietly, standing out in the boisterous crowd. This main character aura, I don't need to seduce anyone, everyone automatically falls for me aura. Liu startled. Could this be the other protagonist, the bottom? Man, that's rough. Not even calling him by name, but he's just the bottom. The bottom's name was Chu Yanyu. Liu leaned against the ledge of the tea bowl and observed him. Although he didn't like the second master, Chu Yanyu's delicate features were far too alluring, drawing Liu's eyes to him. Prince Jing's brows knit together. Where was the fish staring at? With a flick of his long fingers, Prince Jing pushed the little carp back into the tea bowl. Falling down unexpectedly, Liu playfully splashed some water right at Prince Jing. Except he avoided it. Prince Jing laughed silently. Liu shook his tail, happily thinking that his master was also pretty. He was happy with just looking at the prince, no more looking at Chu Yanyu. Second Prince Mu Tianshao watched as Prince Jing brought the fish in. His lips twitched, but he didn't say a word. He knew that the fish wouldn't die so easily. This was probably another one of Prince Jing's schemes. He seethed silently. How dare Prince Jing threaten him over a fish? When he ascended to the throne, he would make that mute pay. As soon as the third prince, Mu Tianming, saw Prince Jing return, he steeled himself and for the third time that night offered to present his dance. Prince Jing allowed it. Despite having been ignored twice so far, Chu Yanyu didn't let it bother him. He shook out his sleeves and glanced behind him. The sixth prince met his gaze from where he sat, not too far away. The slight dip of the sixth prince's head, Chu Yanyu bit his lip and turned to bow graciously. This time, Liu was hanging entirely off the side of the tea bowl. While everyone was gasping at Chu Yanyu's appearance, Liu was focused on the movement Chu Yanyu's eyes flicked to meet the moment Chu Yanyu's eyes flicked to meet the six princes. In the book, Prince Jing had fallen in love with Chu Yanyu as soon as he laid eyes on him, but Chu Yanyu didn't like Prince Jing back. His affections lay with the sixth prince. On the surface, he was a dancer given to Prince Jing by the third prince, but in reality, he was loyal to the sixth prince over either the third prince or Prince Jing. What a complicated web we weave. The sixth prince had never been shown any favor by the emperor, and so he had become the third prince's lackey in the hopes that he could live a better life. The third prince needed someone who could sing and dance, so the sixth prince offered up the boy he had loved since they were children, Chu Yanyu, who loved him in return. That's rough. The sixth prince's ambition was hidden deeply inside his heart, but there was only one person he could trust. Chu Yanyu was more than happy to sacrifice himself for the sake of the sixth prince's future. Why can't they just both be happy together? Can't they? Would that really be so hard? So terrible? The six princes read that. The dance began. Chu Yanyu had arranged the music and choreographed the routine. Despite all the interruptions so far, the guests were quickly immersed in the exquisite dance. After the group dance came the duet between Chu Yanyu and another dancer, a stunning woman. Skirts whirling about, the dancers were like white lotuses in full bloom amongst the lotus leaves. Liu had absolutely no interest in the dance. In fact, he wanted to sink to the bottom of the water, but the tea bowl was too shallow, so he couldn't get very far. He had to settle for lying in the tea bowl, glancing at Prince Jing from the corner of his eye. Prince Jing was enjoying Chu Yanyu's dance. Liu blew a little bubble and turned away. He didn't want to look at him anymore. In the original book, Prince Jing asked Chu Yanyu for his name once the dance was over. But after the last note of the dance dissipated into the air, Prince Jing didn't say anything. The second prince couldn't help but gloat. He might not have been able to put on a show of brotherly love with Prince Jing, but at least the third prince didn't achieve anything either. The third prince couldn't hold it in anymore and asked Prince Jing for his thoughts. Resting his cheek on his hand, Prince Jing gave Wang Shi a slight glance. Wang Shi immediately replied, "It's fine." And that was it. The third and sixth princes, who had worked so hard to present Chu Yanyu to him, were both silent. Liu was even more perplexed. What happened to the love at first sight that he couldn't resist? Master, have you fallen asleep? Wake up! Your wife's about to disappear. No, he already did a little bit ago, don't you worry. He came back, though. Alright, so we've got 2 more chapters. Oops. One quick sec. I can feel and hear my voice getting raspy, but these are some fun chapters. All right. Chapter 22. The Fish is Wanted. Prince Jing hadn't taken a fancy to any of the dancers. The third prince had been so confident in Chu Yanyu, but all Prince Jing did was watch the dance. He didn't even give the dancer a second glance. All the praises Mu Tianming had been ready to sing were suddenly stuck in his throat. Chu Yanyu was hardly perturbed. With his eyes lowered to the ground, it was impossible to tell what he was thinking. The sixth prince nudged Mu Tianming. A third brother? Mu Tianming had already embarrassed himself enough today. Was once more. He swallowed his pride and squeezed out a smile. I'm glad fifth prince thought it was fine. I myself thought it was quite lovely. In fact, I personally selected the male lead and female dancers. Why don't I gift them to fifth brother to pass the time? With him speaking so plainly, everyone knew what the third prince meant. Mu Tianming refused to believe Prince Jing would remain indifferent when faced with a direct gift. Prince Jing switched hands, resting his cheek on his left. He pushed the little carp, who had popped out of the water again to look around, back in. Prince Jing's gaze swept towards Wang Shi once more. Wang Shi, who seemed connected to Prince Jing on an intuitive level, said, His Highness said, no. No, not no need or no thanks. No, meant he wasn't even interested. Mu Tianming was at a loss for words. Prince Jing, are you unhappy with me in some way? Chu Yanyu's thin back was ramrod straight, fingers curled tightly into fists. His eyes flickered with fury. He already had someone in his heart, but for Prince Jing to treat him in such a way was downright humiliating. An extremely prideful man, Chu Yanyu wasn't going to let such an indignity pass without questioning it. So direct. He really is. He was shocked. He didn't expect this. Was this still the delicate little concubine from the book who treated Prince Jing coldly? How did it get flipped around? As soon as he finished speaking, though, Chu Yanyu regretted his thoughtlessness. Prince Jing smiled mockingly, shook his head, and rose, tea bowl in hand. He ordered Wang Shi to send the guests off. Chu Yanyu didn't know how to react. Did Prince Jing shake his head because he was unsatisfied with him? Wang Shi suddenly spoke. Chu Gonzi, don't misunderstand. His Highness doesn't mean anything by it. Only, what concern would it be of His Highness whether he were good enough or not? I feel like partially sick burn, but also just like he's got a point. Like, why should he care? The third prince, Chu Yanyu, and the sixth prince were all shocked into silence. Mu Tianming's head started to hurt. Prince Jing wouldn't even accept a gift that was hand-delivered to him. What was he supposed to do now? Prince Jing kept Liu in the tea bowl, preventing the little carp from jumping out. Glee secretly shot through Liu at seeing Prince Jing's indifference toward Chu Yanyu. In the book, Prince Jing had constantly chased after Chu Yanyu, doing too much for his sake and getting injured too many times. If Prince Jing hadn't fallen in love with him, did that mean the prince's heart was safe? But would changing the plot have some impact on Prince Jing in the future due to the butterfly effect? After some internal struggle, Liu stopped worrying about it. He was here to change Prince Jing's personality, after all. And wasn't that already a change to the original plot of the book? Liu finally returned to Prince Jing's room. The prince poured him back into the crystal fish tank, where Liu noticed the plush had disappeared. The prince had probably already figured out the secret. You know that Wang Shi loves the tea, and I love him. Yeah. Wang Shi's a pretty fun character. Liu smiled derisively. There was no way Prince Jing had figured out that he was the one who placed the decoy, right? No, there was almost no chance. If Prince Jing couldn't even conceive of the possibility of him transforming into a human, how could he come to the conclusion that a fish had placed the plush? No, there was nothing to worry about. He was going to keep on following Prince Jing and kissing up to him. As Prince Jing paced before the fish tank, Liu chased after him. Suddenly, the prince stopped. He pulled something out of his sleeve and dropped it into the tank. Bemused, Liu looked up and saw a blackish blob floating down slowly to land next to him. It was a fish that looked exactly like him. Liu did a double take. Wasn't this the plushie? He snuck a glance at Prince Jing. What did he mean by this? Acting as though he was an ordinary fish who didn't have a single thought in his brain, he snatched the plush up. He didn't dare to drag the plushie into the bed of white rocks and cover it with the leaf blanket like before. That would just be outright exposing himself. He swam a few laps in the water, nudging the plush like it was a toy. Prince Jing saw how much the little carp seemed to enjoy playing with the toy. From afar, it looked like he had a pair of inseparable pet fish. The prince paused, suddenly annoyed with the fake fish. He'd have Wang Shi get rid of it later, but he had other things to take care of, so he walked over and sat down at his desk. Gets jealous even of a plushie. Liu had thought of a new way of playing with the plush, by laying it across his back like he was carrying it. The plush was very light, so he didn't feel tired at all. After playing for a while, he realized that Prince Jing was preoccupied with work, so the little carp pressed himself up against the walls of the crystal tank to peer at him. Prince Jing was drawing again. He had painted the little carp once before in Jingtai Hall, and even asked Wang Shi to hang it up afterwards. Prince Jing had brought the painting with him when he had returned to the manor, where it was currently hanging on the wall, diagonally opposite the crystal fish tank. Was Prince Jing drawing him again? Liu thought delightedly. He was going to go pose. I love how fish-brained Liu has become or has let himself be. Oh, is he drawing me again? Oh, I gotta go pose. Get my best angle. Liu abandoned the fish plush and jumped into a tea bowl on the floor. His agility had been compromised slightly after devouring basically an entire feast as a human, and it took him a few jumps to reach Prince Jing's desk. There was a flower petal-shaped tea bowl on the desk that he visited quite often. Prince Jing seemed to have expected that the fish would come watch him paint, as he didn't seem the slightest bit surprised at the carp's sudden appearance. Prince Jing's painting was a little larger this time. Liu held his breath, although it wasn't done yet, and he couldn't see the entire thing right now. He could make out a hand and a foot. They seemed to be wearing clothing. Prince Jing wasn't drawing a fish this time. He was drawing a person. Liu's heart sank. Was this Chu Yanyu? Despite rejecting the third prince, Prince Jing's heart was still with Chu Yanyu? But that didn't seem like Prince Jing's style at all. In the book, Prince Jing was the kind of man who would stop at nothing to keep the person he loved by his side. There was no chance that Prince Jing was still thinking about Chu Yanyu after he rejected him outright. It was more likely this was a portrait of Wang Shi than it was of Chu Yanyu. I love that he already knows him this well. Liu waited quietly for Prince Jing to finish drawing and then coloring. This painting was a little complicated, and it took him a full hour to complete. Prince Jing picked up the painting and shook it. That was when Liu finally got a good look at the entire thing. Prince Jing was a talented painter, and the colors came together with a vivid and lifelike impression. Captured in the strokes of the painting was a youth in green robes. His hands rested on the windowsill as he turned back, a smile lighting up his face. Holy crap, why did this person look kind of familiar? Wasn't this his human form? Did Prince Jing recreate the moment he almost got caught? Liu likes art, or just Prince Jing's art, yeah. Prince Jing painting a fish was understandable, but a person he barely met? The little carp couldn't figure it out. Yeah, so cute. Oh, give it a moment, Peacock Pages. Prince Jing set the painting to the side and rang a jade bell to call for his servants. Wang Shi quickly entered from outside. Prince Jing handed the painting over to Wang Shi solemnly. Wang Shi then leaned in and whispered something in his ear for the prince's confirmation. After his affirmative, Wang Shi's expression looked rather serious. Was Prince Jing going to ask Wang Shi to hang it up so that his human portrait and fish portrait were side by side? They were both him, but it was a little weird. Rest assured, Your Highness, Wang Shi said. This old servant will order the guards to look for this person in this portrait immediately. What? Prince Jing drew a circle on the paper. Wang Shi nodded. I'll make sure they search along the pond's edge. We'll definitely find this person. He spent so long distracting Prince Jing with his body, and the prince was still determined to capture him? Well, whatever. Even if they had the portrait, they wouldn't be able to find him. Yep, he made a wanted poster. That's why I was like, oh yeah, it's so cute, Peacock Pages. Give it a second. They wouldn't find anything in the pond because the person they were searching for was currently in Prince Jing's fish tank. After the banquet in Prince Jing's manor, a dejected third prince left with Chu Yanyu and the others. Wu Tianming refused to believe that all his careful preparations had gone down the drain. After a round of discussions with his trusted advisors, he decided to deliver Chu Yanyu and the other female lead dancer to Prince Jing's manor anywhere. I still love that he remembers him in such detail, right? It is pretty cool that he does remember him to that extent, and kind of shows like kind of how cool a character he is, like even outside of just loving his fish, that he could literally recreate the image enough that Liu was like, oh my gosh, that actually looks like that's me, just from seeing him for like a split second. That's pretty amazing. But yeah, it's pretty funny where Liu is like, oh my gosh, he's painting me. Is he going to hang it up? And then he's like, no, go find this person. He's the fish thief. Yeah. As soon as he left them there, after a discussion with his trusted advisors, he decided to deliver Chu Yanyu and the other female lead dancer to Prince Jing's manor anyway. As soon as he left them there, Wu Tianming dashed off faster than a thief, thus forcing Prince Jing to accept them. He ding-dong door-ditched them. Wording, Liu wording. The news of the third prince gifting Prince Jing some people circulated quickly, soon reaching the emperor's ears. The emperor was amused, but ultimately he was quite pleased to see the third prince's efforts to get on Prince Jing's good side. So he's like, that's kind of funny. Like, it's not going to work, but I appreciate that you're trying to give your brother people, I guess. The news of the banquet had been held on behalf of Prince Jing and the second prince, but according to the scouts, Prince Jing's fish had vanished after the second prince visited Prince Jing's room. Was the second prince causing trouble for the fish again? The emperor was still alive now, but if the second prince couldn't even let a fish go, what would happen later? Would he try to get rid of Prince Jing? So even without trying, Liu's causing trouble for the second prince. The emperor wondered if he had revealed his choice of crown prince to noble consort Chu too quickly. This wasn't the first time Mu Tianxiao had disappointed him after all. As a warning to the second prince, a few days after the banquet, the emperor rewarded only the third prince with a tea set. It wasn't anything precious, but no one else received this honor, not even the second prince. Because the emperor had rewarded him specifically right after he had sent people to Prince Jing's manor, Wu Tianming thought that he had hit on the right way to get closer to Prince Jing. This could only mean that the emperor hoped he and Prince Jing could get along. I mean, he hopes that all of them could get along. Like, you're correct about that point. The sixth prince had also correctly guessed the emperor's intentions. The emperor was rewarding only the third prince and not the second prince, signaling the beginning of the second prince's downfall. This is all thanks to your recommendation, Mu Tianming smiled as he patted Mu Tianxiao's shoulder. It was a good idea to send Chu Yanyu into Prince Jing's manor. The sixth prince smiled back gently, not letting even a sliver of resentment show on his face, even though his lover had gone to Prince Jing's manor. Yanyu's clever. He won't let you down, brother. When Prince Jing heard the news from Wang Shi, his expression was mild. Wang Shi Gonggong already had a wealth of experience with outsiders trying to cram people in the manor. The emperor himself had sent many people over the years, men and women, fat and skinny. Prince Jing didn't like any of them, so they were all sequestered in the courtyard in the manor. In a courtyard in the manor. No one was allowed to come out without permission. After they had stayed for a year, those who wanted to leave the manor could leave. Those who wanted to stay all became servants. It's a pretty good system, honestly. Now the third prince had sent over Chu Gonzi and his female counterpart. His Highness had already made it very clear he didn't want them, but the third prince had gone and left them there anyway. Looking at Prince Jing's expression, Wang Shi knew that the courtyard was about to get 2 new additions. Alright. One more chapter. But first, a quick water break. Chapter 23. Bathing with the Fish. Liu was completely oblivious to the roundabout way Chu Yanyu was entering the manor. He assumed a direct rejection by Prince Jing would be enough to put him off. A grand total of 0 sparks had flown between the main top and bottom. Liu was a bit worried that it'd affect Prince Jing's future. System, he called out, what'll happen if the plot completely changes? Prince Jing hadn't taken to Chu Yanyu at all. It felt off to him. The system rose from the dead to reply, everything will be fine as long as the user completes his Moe Pet System mission. Did that mean the plot was allowed to be completely unrecognizable, then, as long as he completed his fishy missions? Liu was kind of excited. At first, he'd been worried that the fish scamming system would give him some kind of mission to get Prince Jing and Xue Yanyu together, but apparently the plot progression was none of his business. It'd be pretty nice if Prince Jing could dodge the angsty relationship he had with Xue Yanyu altogether, he thought. Besides, if Prince Jing didn't like Xue Yanyu probably didn't like Prince Jing either. How could a fish like him press their heads together and order them to kiss? It'd be impossible. For the first time, Liu felt like it wasn't all that bad to have a system. Sure, it scammed him all the time, but it wasn't totally useless. Just as he was celebrating, the system reminded him, "The altered plot will affect the course of future events. Plot points unrelated to the altered plot will still progress, and the plot points related to the altered plot will change accordingly. Please be prepared, as the user will not be familiar with the modified plot." It was rare for the fish scamming system to be so talkative, but what it was saying made sense to Liu. The original book did have a lot of plot lines that revolved around the relationship angst between Prince Jing and Xue Yanyu, so those plot lines would obviously be influenced if Prince Jing wasn't pursuing Xue Yanyu. That was the butterfly effect. Liu the fish was very generous. "It's all right. I'll be prepared." "Oh, hi, Esper lady. How you doing today? Welcome." We're actually on the last chapter for tonight. We actually just started it. We are talking to the plot, or to the fish pet system. Hope you're doing good too. No worries. I'm glad you're doing good. And I'm doing much better today. I was sick, but now I am better. Thank you for asking, or saying. But yeah, so he was talking to the system, and he's like, "Is it cool that this plot is changing? Like, is he going to be fine?" Me too. And the system was like, "Stuff's going to change, and other stuff will change. So you're not going to be familiar with the plot, but don't worry about it," basically. Liu the fish was very generous. "It's all right. I'll be prepared." But would it affect Prince Jing's path to the throne? What if the butterfly effect was too strong and ended up slapping his throne away with its unnaturally muscular wings? Right? Prince Jing was the Dai son, and he didn't get along with the other princes, so if he couldn't become the emperor, he was practically guaranteed a miserable fate. So Liu still wanted him to become the emperor. System. No matter how it happens, the tyrant's protagonist status guarantees he will become the emperor. This is an unavoidable canon event. With that sentence, Liu was reassured. Next, he planned to slowly and leisurely study how he was going to attain a deep understanding of the tyrant. "Oh, right. Since you answered me, then help me with this one too. I think I understand Prince Jing pretty well already, so what exactly does a deep understanding mean?" Sure enough, the fish scamming system properly played dead as soon as he brought up one of his missions. Typical. No matter, Liu still politely bade the system good day. When he regained his senses, he found that Prince Jing had lifted him out from the fish tank again. From time to time, the little fish would simply fall asleep like this, and whenever this happened, Prince Jing would watch over him. They were both used to it by now. Liu flapped his tail to show that he was alive and kicking, but Prince Jing frowned. Perhaps he'd happened to touch Liu's belly when he lifted him out of the tank and felt that something was off because he was currently rubbing Liu's fish belly. Prince Jing's actions reminded Liu that his normally flat fish belly was a little swollen. Right, he remembered. When he'd turned into a human, he'd absolutely gorged himself, but his bulging stomach was the same after he'd turned back into a fish. Perhaps the system didn't notice the problem earlier. "I just ate too much. I'm fine," Liu wanted to explain, but he couldn't. Prince Jing kept rubbing his belly with that strange expression on his face for a bit, until he came to the conclusion that the fish was sick again and called for someone to come. The servants who examined the fish for sickness before now examined his belly for a bit. One of them wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, "Your Highness, the fish seems to have eaten too much." It'll go away after a little more swimming around," another servant added. "It's not because the fish is, pregnant." The other servants present wanted to poke their eyes out. "This fish was male. How did His Highness ask? Why? Why did His Highness ask such a question?" "What?" Liu was scared shitless by what the servant had said. "Pregnant? Did Prince Jing think he had little fish inside him? How would that be possible? Men couldn't get pregnant. And male fish couldn't give birth to little fish." "Sure they can't, Liu. Sure they can't." Did Prince Jing get his gender wrong even though he'd been taking care of him for so long? Right? Not pregnant, just fat. Yep. It is pretty funny, Esper Lady. Liu puffed up in anger. After the fish had been examined to his satisfaction, Prince Jing tried pushing him around with his finger so he could digest his food, but Liu had no desire to move. He just lay there on the prince's hand. The foreshadowing, right? Luckily, the food he'd eaten when he was human was still easily digested when he turned back into a fish. So Liu was back to normal in no time, full of vim and vigor. The recovered Liu soon forgot his anger and started trying to think of things he could do that might help him get a deeper understanding. Food baby. Definitely. He had a breakthrough when he remembered a saying he'd often heard in modern times. As a man, to obtain a deeper understanding of another man, one must take a bath with him. It's a weird saying. He might as well try and take a bath with Prince Jing, he thought. He managed to complete the bed-sharing task, after all, so how hard could it be to take a bath with him? If Prince Jing was willing to put him on his jade pillow, he probably wouldn't be against bringing him into the bathtub. Provided, of course, that he didn't fall into hot water and turn the whole bathtub into fish stew. But the hot water problem was easy to solve. There were definitely ladles in the bathroom or other tools for scooping up hot water. Liu couldn't help but think that it would have been nice to have a mission where his job was to become a little hot spring fish. But the system ignored him. It probably thought he wasn't worth talking to. Yep, keep telling yourself that, Liu. When it was time for Prince Jing to take a bath, Liu jumped around more excitedly than he ever had before. Wang Shi was outside holding a portrait of human Liu, stopping at nothing to try to capture his likeness. But when he turned around and caught sight of the little carp, his wrinkles bloomed into a smile. "Little thing, do you want to get into the bath with His Highness?" Liu leapt towards the side of the fish tank. He went all out this time, becoming completely shameless, blowing bubbles at Wang Shi and acting cute. Wang Shi consulted Prince Jing. Prince Jing found Liu's actions a little strange too. After a bit of thought, he agreed and had someone make the proper arrangements. Wang Shi fetched a large wooden ladle meant to hold water, which he used to scoop out the little carp from the tank, along with some of the water. In the bathroom, Prince Jing had already finished making preparations. There were quite a lot of charcoal braziers in the bathroom, making the room warm and cozy. Behind the screen, placed in the middle of the room, was a bathtub almost as tall as a person, where Prince Jing sat in his inner robes, motioning Wang Shi to come over and place the wooden ladle in the water. The wooden ladle holding the little carp floated in the bathtub, making it look like Prince Jing was bathing in the bathtub while the fish was bathing in the ladle. Liu wiggled eagerly in the ladle, trying to move it towards Prince Jing. But the ladle was much lighter than the small tea bowls he was used to, and since it was both floating in water and filled with water, he found it hard to control his strength. Liu couldn't move the ladle forward and instead started spinning in circles. He was pretty dizzy after a few spins. Prince Jing smiled a little and lifted his hand to stop the spinning ladle. When Liu fully came back to his senses, he was met with the sight of Prince Jing's handsome face, a face that seemed even more pristine in the bath. He even saw a water droplet slide down Prince Jing's cheek to his Adam apple. His Adam's apple rolled and the water droplet fell. All right, there's a picture here. It's a very nice picture. It's a pretty sweet picture. Kind of cute too. They're both bathing together. They're just chilling in the bath. Liu hadn't inadvertently bitten or chewed anything this time, but just like last time, he felt like he was getting cooked over a fire. It was definitely the hot water's fault. He buried his head in the wooden ladle's water, feeling a bit embarrassed. Calm down a little, he told himself firmly. He was a fish who would do anything to complete his quests. He must not be tempted by the beauty of his owner. The little fish bath is so cute. It really is. He lifted his head, wanting to swim closer, but he used too much strength, and instead of spinning in place, the ladle abruptly tilted to the side and fell over. Seriously? He was about to win a Darwin Award here. So anyone who doesn't know what a Darwin Award, it's someone dying in extremely stupid or idiotic ways. It's literally a thing. You can look up the ones for each year, and I actually have in the past. Some of them are quite out there. Hot water surged into the ladle, and Liu lamented that there were more ways for a little fish to die than just turning into fish bones and fish ash. After everything he'd gone through, he'd still had to contend with being boiled into a soup. The water... Huh? The water's not hot? A stunned Liu floated in the hot water for a bit before it sank in that he could still swim. The water pouring in from the tub was cold too. What was going on? Liu carefully swam out of the upended wooden ladle, now in the same bathtub as Prince Jing. It didn't take too long for him to understand what was going on. Prince Jing had replaced the hot water in the tub with cold water since he wanted to play in the bathtub. Ooh. Owner, how could you treat me so well? Liu flapped his tail twice, trying to swim closer to his owner. It was rare for a fish and a human to be so close, with nothing in between them. Prince Jing smiled slightly as he scooped up a handful of water and poured it onto Liu's head, as if he was getting revenge on the little fish for all the times he had splashed him in the past. You bully! You dare to tease a fish? Liu shook off the water on his head, while Prince Jing smirked smugly. Liu had never seen such an expression on him, and without pausing to think, he leapt over, opening his mouth and biting chaotically. A human and a fish were tussling in the water. At first, Wang Shi was worried that Prince Jing wouldn't be able to physically tolerate being soaked in the cold water, but the water he was bathing in had been left in a warmed room with charcoal braziers for a while by now, so it shouldn't be freezing cold anymore. Plus, Prince Jing would sometimes practice his martial arts in cold water during winter, so it should be fine. But just in case, Wang Shi still prepared some ginger soup for when Prince Jing got out of the bath to drive away the cold. He's such a good dude. Like, best caretaker, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 10. His Highness seemed in much better spirits after the little thing, Master Fish, joined him in the tub. Wang Shi was sincerely happy for Prince Jing as he listened to them splashing around from outside. So cute. Like, it's just so cute. Like, oh my goodness. After the bath, Liu was scooped back into the wooden spoon and brought out by Prince Jing himself. Liu tittered happily. There'd been a mission update during his water fight with Prince Jing. It looked like taking a bath together to understand a man deeply was the correct line of thinking. Wangxi is the best. He really is. Liu waited until the middle of the night to check out the reward. He'd been in a bad mood back when the quest first popped up, so he hadn't been paying too much attention to it. But he told himself to keep his expectations low. The fish scamming system had gotten him a lousy fish plushie last time, after all. When he collected the reward, a bright light flashed briefly under his fin before disappearing, much like what happened when he received the inventory reward. Liu lowered his head to take a glance. Next to the jade scale that he used to access his inventory was another very similar scale. What is this for? What if he tapped the wrong one in the future, since they looked so similar and were so close to one another? Liu tried to poke the new scale, but he didn't feel anything in particular. The next moment, though, he found that his body had grown bigger. He looked towards his fins in surprise, only to find that his fins had turned into hands. Delighted, Liu asked, "System, what's going on?" He touched his face happily. His face was smooth, free of fish scales. He didn't understand why, but he'd turned into a human. Was this what the system was talking about when it said he could turn back into a human if he kept completing the missions? Was he fully back now? Apologies, user. This is just a skill. The system began to explain, late as usual. Skill? The main mission will become increasingly complicated from here onward, and will be harder to complete if you can't turn into a human, the system said. The reward this time is a skill that allows you to maintain your human form for an hour, once per day. What kind of skill is this? It didn't even last as long as the transformation medicine. But if you could use it once per day... Wait, didn't the system say there was only one bottle of the transformation medicine? The system was lying again. If he had known he was going to get a skill that would let him turn human for an hour in a day, he wouldn't have been so stingy and calculating when he used the transformation medicine. You used it to go eat at a banquet. Like, you weren't exactly being stingy. Let's be real. There is only one bottle of the transformation medicine. The reward this time is a skill, but if you dislike it, user, you can give it up. Liu panicked. Who said I wanted to give it up? I earned this by working hard on my quest. He hunched over his jade scales protectively. Now that he'd turned back into a human, the jade scales had turned into two scale-like markings under his arm. I wonder if it's itchy. It seems like it would be itchy if it was under your arm. Then please use it well, the system replied. The next mission is the final quest in the Peerless Pet Fish mission. Once it's completed, all your stats will be doubled, your inventory slots will increase one by one, and you can begin the side mission, Turn into a Koi. Was he finally about to finish a main quest? The reward sounded quite lavish, and he would be able to start the long-awaited Koi mission soon. But what exactly was the last mission? In the mindscape where the system resided, the words Tyrant's priceless pet fish started glowing golden. Liu examined the last step of the quest. The last step. Intimate contact with the Tyrant. There were no more details. Liu suddenly had a bad feeling. Wait. Intimate contact? Is that the kind of intimate contact I'm thinking of? Please come to your own conclusion, user. Okay. When it really mattered, the system had started bullshitting again. Liu puttered around the system for a while. His time as a human ran out quickly, and he changed back into a fish. Since this transformation was the result of a skill instead of medicine, Liu didn't feel any unpleasant side effects. Now that the transformation was finished, the jade scale lost its luster, indicating that it could not be used until the next day. With this skill, he could turn into a human once in a while, but he had to be careful. He couldn't show himself whenever he wanted, since Prince Jing was still looking for him everywhere. Mind fully occupied, he exited the system. Luckily, even though he'd been in his human form in the system, in the waking world he was still a fish. Perhaps the system had helped him. The image of a human man fainting in a fish tank was pretty alarming. It's kind of funny, actually. He'd already progressed to the last stage of Priceless Pet Fish. Just one more step, and he'd be done with the main quest. He was getting closer and closer to turning back into a human. And to do that, he had to work hard at achieving intimate contact. Yet, the only intimate contact he could think of was mouth to mouth. With the help of the tea bowls laid out across the floor, Liu jumped lightly from the fish tank to the foot of the bed. It was late now, so Prince Jing was asleep. Liu stared at his luscious lips, remembering how he'd bitten them before and had to apologize for it with fish food. And now he had to do something so shameless. And no need to think so much, it was just a mission. He and Prince Jing were already good friends who understood one another deeply. Liu kept telling himself, so he had to strike while the iron was hot and get this over with now. It'd only get more embarrassing as time went on. Having managed to convince himself, the little carp jumped onto the jade pillow, closed his eyes, and inched his fish lips forward. But it was so much easier to do something like this accidentally. Doing it on purpose was hard. Liu felt like he'd been inching forward for a while, but the softness he remembered still seemed out of reach. He opened his eyes, only to find that Prince Jing had turned around. Liu stared at the back of his head. Then I'll jump again. He leapt to the other side, doing his best to stretch his fish lips out. But he still didn't make contact. He opened his eyes. Prince Jing opened his eyes too. Liu all but forgot where he was. With a guilty conscience, he immediately started flapping his tail, revealing his impure intentions. Except his thumping on the jade pillow was way too loud. Sob, 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 what should I do? Prince Jing, who had probably been woken up by the fish jumping around, found his pet lying on his pillow and flapping its tail as soon as he woke up. Still sleepy, Prince Jing dragged the nearest bowl over and put the fish in. He patted Liu's head lightly and lay down to sleep again. What the hell? Could someone tell Liu what the head patting meant? Liu didn't dare make another attempt to inch his mouth forward. He didn't want to wake up the sleeping figure in front of him again. Forget it. Next time... Well, he wasn't in a hurry anyway. Liu hunkered down next to Prince Jing and fell asleep too. An unexpected visitor came to Prince Jing's manor. Prince Jing was cold towards most people, so he hardly ever invited any guests. There were usually only two types of people who came to the manor. The first type were people from the palace who were there out of some sort of business and came to announce royal edicts. The second type was Yi Xinghua. Xinghua. It's more of a she. Sorry, cues. They trip me up. Yi Xinghua, the heir to the house of Cheng'en. This young lord liked a good crowd, the opposite of Prince Jing's preferred solitude, but he just wasn't afraid of Prince Jing's frosty disposition and often came to the manor just to hang out. Yishizi didn't care that every time he visited, Prince Jing's face was as dark as the bottom of a wok. It made him happy, even. I like him. Prince Jing could tell everyone else who came to scram, but not him, because Yishizi was his cousin. At most, he could only order the guards to grab Yi Xinghuan by the collar and throw him out. Yishizi hadn't been able to attend the banquet that was recently held at Prince Jing's manor because he had official matters to attend to, and he quite regretted missing out on the fun. He rushed over to Prince Jing's manor as soon as he had time, just a couple of days later. Yishizi is nice. He really is. He also heard that Prince Jing had started taking care of a pet fish at that. Yi Xinghua had actually made this trip to show off his own pet, a dog. He thought that he had a little more in common with Prince Jing now, and they'd be able to chat with each other about their pets. He's like, you got a pet, I got a pet, let's brag on our pets. Wang Shi led Yi Xinghua with his dog in tow to meet Prince Jing. When he met his cousin, Yi Xinghua grabbed a chair, sat down excitedly, and immediately started asking about the fish without having Wang Shi announce him. When a dog person hangs out with a fish person. Exactly. Tianxi, are you really keeping a fish as a pet? Prince Jing glanced at the large black dog behind Yi Xinghua, decked out in a heavy collar of pure gold. Instead of throwing his cousin out immediately like he usually did, Prince Jing signaled Wang Shi to bring the fish tank over. The crystal fish tank from the Emperor hadn't been moved since it was brought to Prince Jing's residence, as it was extremely inconvenient to move something so heavy and large. But since Yi Shizi was visiting, Prince Jing wanted to move the fish tank. Wang Shi felt both helpless and amused at the thought. Who asked Yi Shizi to show off in front of His Highness? Of course he's going to show off in return. These guys. Oh my goodness. Honestly, there would have been nothing wrong with just letting Yi Shizi enter the room to see the fish, but Prince Jing clearly didn't care for the dog. Besides, the fish tank would also be much easier to view outside the room than inside it. Yi Xinghua didn't have to wait too long before the fish tank, half the height of a person, was escorted out. Yi Xinghua's mouth dropped to the floor and was left there, forgotten. It wasn't that Yi Shizi had never seen crystal, but the jewels piled in the fish tank were almost enough to blind him. Yet the fish inside was clearly just a normal small gray carp. You didn't throw your entire money pouch into the fish tank, did you? Yi Xinghua muttered. He didn't actually care about a pet's value, but someone like Prince Jing, who was willing to spoil a fish, was a far greater rarity than his fish. He'd intentionally tried to show off the pure gold collar on his dog's neck, but it was nothing compared to Prince Jing's fish tank. The gold collar was expensive, yes, but even money might not be able to buy Prince Jing's fish tank and everything inside it. Prince Jing glanced at him with an "Are you an idiot?" expression on his face. Yi Xinghua gulped. He suddenly remembered that Prince Jing was rich, but he never really showed it. So what had happened for him to show it off now? Yi Xinghua didn't want to be embarrassed, so he snapped his fingers. His large black dog bounced over, wagging its tail and pawing at his legs. The young lord immediately regained some of his lost confidence and hugged his dog, who in turn nibbled on his face. Yi Chunhuan smirked at Prince Jing. Prince Jing knew that Yi Shizi was provoking him, but he'd never snapped at his fish or trained him before. He thought the young lord was being childish and wasn't quite expecting anything. Li Yu in his fish tank was watching Yi Qinghuan and his dog as well. He could tell what was going on from a single glance. Were the pets going to compete? Li Yu's tail flipped and flapped in excitement, and he rushed to the front of the crystal tank. It was time to help his owner earn some more respect. What could a dog do? He'd beat 10 out of them in a row. 10 of them in a row. Prince Jing noticed his fish looked quite eager. Why not give it a try, then? He hesitantly stretched out his hand, palm up. Liu knew that Yi Xinghuan was trustworthy, so he flicked his tail and effortlessly jumped out of the water, landing directly on Prince Jing's palm. Vindicated, Prince Jing held up his fish and softly squeezed his back. Liu wanted to use this opportunity for some intimate contact, but Prince Jing moved faster than him and placed him in a petal-shaped tea bowl that Wang Shi had prepared ahead of time. He'd failed to steal a kiss. Liu flopped unhappily in his teacup. Sob, 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 let me out. I have to finish my mission. Yi Xinghuan gasped in disbelief. Prince Jing was playing with the fish, and the unappealing fish actually jumped. Not only did he jump, he also jumped into Prince Jing's palm with deadly accuracy. His own dog wouldn't lick the center of his palm if there wasn't food on it, but Prince Jing didn't feed his fish anything. He'd lost. Yi Xinghuan felt like he lost the meaning of life. Wait. He rubbed his face as he remembered something and asked, Tianqi, what's your fish's name? Prince Jing stared at him. My dog's name is Xiang Feng. Xiang Feng. I think I'm saying that right. Yi Xinghuan grinned, feeling like he'd won this round. He was sure that someone as boring as Prince Jing couldn't think of giving his pet a name, even if Xiang Feng wasn't as smart as the little carp. He still had Prince Jing beat when it came to names. Liu didn't really understand what was going on and wanted to laugh, but before he could giggle, his gaze met Prince Jing's. He instantly had a bad feeling. If Yi Shizi was going to brag about his dog's name, he suddenly remembered how Wang Shi called him Little Thing. Did Prince Jing want to? No, Little Thing was much less dignified than Xiang Feng. Liu immediately shook his head and wagged his tail, trying to demonstrate his disapproval. Prince Jing was indeed thinking about how he really hadn't named his fish yet. There was actually a couple of ways to address him. Most servants called him His Highness's Fish or Master Fish. Wang Shi had called him Master Fish once or twice, but he called him Little Thing most often. It's like an elementary school level pissing contest. It really is, honestly. Then why not just decide on Little Thing? But Wang Shi was the one who'd come up with that name, and Prince Jing didn't know how he felt about that. He'd always called him this fish in his thoughts. It was about time to give him a proper name. Prince Jing pressed his lips together and asked for some ink and paper, gave it some thought, and wrote the words Shao. He turned his head to find the fish's burning gaze fixed on him. Prince Jing smiled and added the word fish and tossed the paper to Yi Xinghuan. Why'd you give me this? Yi Xinghuan was holding the calligraphy but hadn't realized what it was yet. Wang Shi, who had faded into the background, leaped out and confidently explained. Yi Shizi, His Highness wants you to remember that Master Fish's name is Xiao Yu. Yi Xinghuan was speechless. What an unbelievably dull and unimaginative name. Xiao Yu? Liu's eyes lit up. That was an excellent name. He used to have the exact same nickname in the modern world. He quickly spit out a bunch of bubbles, trying to show how much he liked his new name. Yi Xinghuan's arrival had refreshed Liu's impression of Yi Shizi from the book. Yi Xinghuan, was Prince Jing's cousin and one of the few royal children who was still upright and open-minded. He was sometimes prone to saying annoying things, but that was really his only flaw. It's such a perfect name given his actual name. It really is. He was, and Liu never knew that the real Yi Xinghuan had a dog. It was probably a small detail in the original book, just like the noble consort's master cat. Unfortunately, this detail almost cost Liu his life, especially when Yi Xinghuan had someone untie Xiang Feng's chain. Xiang Feng started running around wildly, kicking up a cloud of dust. Liu could have heard the ruckus from a mile away. This dog had never seen a fish before, so he ran over excitedly to give him a sniff. When he was human, Liu wasn't afraid of cats or dogs, but as a fish, he was afraid of both. Dogs might not like to eat fish, but they loved grabbing things in their mouths. Xiang Feng's glistening white teeth were much larger and sharper than Piaxu's. What's more, Yi Shizi's dog was quite persistent when it came to things that interested him and insisted on poking his nose into things and smelling them before he stopped. I love that they have different reactions. Really, truly, that's pretty funny. Right when the dog was about to poke him with his nose, Liu shrieked, "Help!" The little carp flopped around wildly in a panic, forgetting he was in a tea bowl and splashing water everywhere. As Xiang Feng dashed forward, Prince Jing moved in front of the teacup so the dog ran into a human wall, just like Piaxu did back then. Xiang Feng was an overly enthusiastic dog, so running into something didn't make him mad at all. Since it was his first time in Prince Jing's residence, he was also curious about Prince Jing, as he'd never met him before. While Xiang Feng might not have been afraid of Prince Jing, however, Yi Xinghuan knew what Prince Jing was like when he was angry. Afraid that his dog would get a beating, he hurriedly said, "Tianxi, don't raise a hand against him. You still have to keep in mind who his owner is. My Xiang Feng is naturally friendly and won't bite humans." He didn't bite humans, but could he guarantee that he didn't bite fish? Yi Shizi wasn't quite sure of that himself. Very good. Prince Jing glanced at Yi Xinghuan and laughed coldly at him. He didn't end up dealing with Xiang Feng. Instead, he turned around and ordered Wang Shi to pick up Yi Qinghuan and his dog and throw them out together. Xiang Feng frightened Liu so badly that the fish's secret plan to steal a kiss from Prince Jing when he didn't expect it had flown right out the window. But Yi Shizi's arrival had helped him recall a plotline that this young lord was involved in. The system had told him that some plotlines would still happen and others would change. What was going to happen to this one? In the original book, the third prince gained Prince Jing as an ally through Chu Yanyu. The house of Chang'an, as the family of the former empress and Prince Jing's family, had no need to support any other prince, but still indirectly helped the third prince for Prince Jing's sake. After they found out that the house of Chang'an had helped Mu Tianming, Mu Tianshao's family held a grudge. At the same time, the country of Jingzhou had sent their princess over to be married, and the emperor planned to have her marry Yi Shizi. However, as the second prince was afraid that the third prince would also receive support from the country of Jinju through this marriage, he plotted to frame Yi Qinghuan. Yi Qinghuan would accidentally kill the princess. With the princess dead, there would be no marriage. Mu Tianshao didn't care if the country of Jinju ended up becoming an enemy of the empire or not. What was important was that, according to his plan, the emperor would punish Yi Shizi to soothe diplomatic relations. The Duke of Chang'an would plead for mercy. and Mu Tianxiao just needed to have the ministers on his side speak of justice and insist that Yi, the Duke of Cheng'en, had brought shame on the memory of Emperor Xiaohui. The emperor would at least take away their titles and dismiss them from their positions, and the rest of the family would be impacted as well. The second prince had greater power in court than the third prince did. With the third prince's personality, Mu Tianxiao knew that he would choose to protect himself if pleading for mercy failed. He would then swoop in to win over the Duke of Cheng'en. If he could win him over, then the Duke of Cheng'en and his family would be loyal to him. If he couldn't win him over, then at least he would have put the third prince at a disadvantage. So much scheming. The second prince was knee-deep in plots and schemes, but the most despicable thing of all was the sixth prince's behavior. When he discovered the scheme by chance, he kept his mouth shut, told the Duke of Cheng'en and the third prince nothing, and instead chose to wait and let the tragedy happen. However, the Jing princess wasn't the one who ended up being killed. Instead, it was the emperor's most beloved youngest daughter. The emperor was furious. Yi was executed, the Duke of Cheng'en was exiled, and Prince Jing, having been implicated as well, was confined to his residence. The sixth prince volunteered to take on some of the emperor's burden and married the awaiting Jinjue princess. Yet the third prince still believed the second prince was behind everything, and assumed the sixth prince was helping him earn the trust of the country of Jinjue, and thus started trusting the sixth prince even more. When in truth, the sixth prince was secretly already winning over the third prince's people. All of this happened because of the sixth prince's opportunism. The chance arose for him to drive the wedge between the two princes even deeper, so of course he took it, and managed to eradicate the power of the House of Cheng'en while he was at it. The second and third princes were dangerous, but the sixth prince was even more malicious. He helped gain the backing of the House of Cheng'en through Prince Jing and Xu Yanyu. But then he found out that the House of Cheng'en was already stretched to its limits. Realizing they were even less likely to be of use to him than he'd thought, he decided to cut off the arm of support he'd personally brought in for the third prince, since he'd already trusted him completely. At the same time, he could turn the second and third princes against each other, thus giving himself an opportunity. The princess had nothing to do with the prince's power struggle, but the sixth prince still sacrificed his own younger sister. He knew that the emperor would still show the Duke of Cheng'en some mercy over the death of a mere princess from another country. But if it was their own princess who died, the emperor would no longer need to hold back on account of Empress Xiaohui. Clearly, the sixth prince had the darkest heart of all. He hid behind the third prince and plotted for both the second and third princes to defeat each other. Without these manipulations, he never would have gained the opportunity to fight Prince Jing for the throne and nearly win. In the fight to become the heir, there were countless casualties, the most innocent of which, in the original book, would be the House of Cheng'en and Yi. But now, a turning point had presented itself. Since Prince Jing didn't like Xu Yanyu, it would be immensely difficult for the third prince to receive help from the House of Cheng'en. Would the second prince still plot to frame Yi? If the second prince hadn't put the plan into motion, then the sixth prince's plan wouldn't have kicked off yet either. Li Yu had very little contact with Yi. The young lord might be a bit irritating, but he was one of Prince Jing's few friends and a direct relative. To die in the contest for power, as innocent as he was. In the original book, the sixth prince failed to win the position of heir, and even though Xu Yanyu begged for his mercy, Prince Jing still sacrificed the sixth prince to Yi Qinghuan's family. It was clear that he was indeed regretful. If Yi Shizi's plotline still exists, Liu thought, I should help as much as I can. But he was just a fish. What could he do? Yushizi came to Prince Jing's residence more often than anyone else did, but it still wasn't very often. Liu could only turn into a human for an hour a day, so he might not be able to run into Yishizi, and even if he did, an hour wasn't enough time to persuade Yishizi to believe him. Prince Jing was still the one Liu had the most contact with, so he had to go through Prince Jing. Just as he thought about how he was going to go about it, the fish scamming system suddenly interrupted. User, you've met the prerequisites for the side quest, Impenetrable Defense. Would you like to begin? What side quest? Said Liu. How come I can activate it even though I haven't done anything? It activates when the user is willing to save cannon fodder characters from the book without anything in return. Liu laughed. So Yishizi was also, cannon fodder. But with Yishizi's qualities, he was probably still the most eye-catching cannon fodder. Oh, it's got to be the family genes, right? It would be best if the side quest was considered completed after people were saved. If it was anything like Clear Bright Pearl, he'd lose his mind. Liu still had to worry over the intimate contact mission, though. He asked cautiously, what's the mission, exactly? And the rewards? Let's hear it. The system guided Liu to look at the Impenetrable Defense mission. The mission was quite detailed. As long as he protected the person he wanted to save in the given period of time and prevented their death, the side quest would be completed. It was right in line with what he wanted to do, and he liked the title Impenetrable Defense. It meant that as long as he was able to protect and guard this person well, he was like a metal wall. And the rewards? Liu asked. The user can choose from the rewards once the mission is completed. The system started to list them off mechanically. Liu didn't really want to listen. Fine, I'll see what they are when the mission is completed instead. The fish scamming system's rewards were getting more and more fantastical. Well, even if there was no mission, he would still help Yishizi. The reward wasn't really important. That is one of the reasons I also like Liu. He's like, stuff would be nice, stuff would be great, but I'm still going to do it anyway. Even if I wasn't rewarded. Liu's plan was to deliver a letter to Yishizi that outlined the second prince's plan to frame him. Even if Yi Xinghuan didn't believe the letter, the House of Cheng'en might at least be alerted, and if they were somewhat already prepared, then it would be difficult for the second prince to harm him. He is a good boy. Since Liu already had the skill that let him change into a human, he didn't have to worry about how he was going to write. But it wasn't until he actively was faced with writing the letter that he suddenly realized. In ancient times, people wrote in traditional characters. Liu could guess and read some traditional characters, but he wouldn't be able to write an entire letter with them. He'd suddenly become illiterate. Still, it wouldn't stop him. Since he could mostly read traditional characters, he just had to find a book with lots of words and copy it. There weren't many books in Prince Jing's bedroom, but there was a large study room that Liu hadn't been to yet. When Prince Jing planned to go to the study, Liu jumped into his palm and grabbed onto his fingers, refusing to let go. Prince Jing glanced at him fondly. What in the world should I do with you, he thought. This fish had been getting bolder and bolder ever since it was given a name. Oh, well. Prince Jing might grumble, but he didn't hesitate at all to grab the flower petal tea bowl that the little carp often sat in. Liu needs calligraphy classes. That he does. When he got to the study, Prince Jing placed the fish on the side as usual and brought over a set of books to read at the desk. The little carp was always very quiet when Prince Jing read in his own room, but this time, instead of being obediently silent, as usual, Xiao Yu kept trying to stretch his head towards the book he was reading and flapping his tail vigorously. I angle's off. I can't see. Did Xiao Yu want to play again? Prince Jing was pretty easygoing with his fish, so he smiled and moved the tea bowl closer to him. Wang Shi had been informed that the fish was coming to the study, so he laid a couple of thick water-absorbent blankets on the table in advance. Li Yu could finally see the book. As he watched, he took note of as many characters as he could that he might be able to use while writing the letter. He planned to practice writing the characters when no one else was around. Prince Jing noticed while reading that Liu's head was moving up and down consistently. He suddenly had the feeling that the fish could read. No, he definitely saw it wrong, right? Prince Jing put his book down and rubbed the spot between his eyebrows. He noticed that as he put the book down, the little carp slowly tipped forward in his tea bowl until he fell onto the page with a soft poof. Ah, thought Prince Jing. So he fell asleep. Liu despaired. How come I fell asleep? It's kind of funny. And on that note, that's actually where we're going to be stopping today. Which kind of is perfect, because that's a really good spot to stop. In all honesty, because that's kind of like right before we start our next mission to help Yi Xinghuan. That name is going to give me trouble. Or continue giving me trouble. It's already given me trouble. The cues trip me up. But no, I enjoyed this session, this stream, these chapters. I enjoyed these. We got some pretty good things. We saw our original main lead. This is so fun. I had a great time. I'm glad you had a great time, Esper Lady. I did too. But yeah, so we saw the party where they would have originally met the main lead, and instead the first interaction with Li Yu and Prince Jing, and had some missions completed, and now we can transform into human once per day. I'm glad you're loving it, Annika, and thank you for coming. I'm happy to be streaming. Speaking of streaming, I will continue with the next, I think 8, is it 4 or 8? Looks like the next 4. It's kind of small. Hang on. I'll figure out the numbers. Oh, thank you, Truffle. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But yeah, we'll continue on Thursday at 8 Central Standard Time. So, the usual. But yeah, I'm excited to see if we'll make some progress on writing and intimate contacts with the Tyrant. Goodbye, Mo Mars Rover, and you're welcome. Hope to see you Thursday. And for anyone who's tuning into the stream after this, weren't at the live, I hope you enjoyed too. I had a lot of fun with this. And I hope to see you or hear from you, maybe in the comments, or anything else. Party is your favorite chapter. I don't blame you. The party's hilarious. See everyone Thursday. Bye, Peacock Pages. I hope you enjoyed too. But yeah, have a great night, everybody, or day if you're watching this later. See you Thursday. Oh,